Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Simulating the Apocalypse Era, I create a new body refining system. Chapter 1. Mysterious World. The depths of the universe are broken, and there are natural phenomena. All the ascetics feel it in their hearts, as if some connection between the body and the heaven and earth is broken. On this day, a terrifying old monster raised its head, only to be bombarded by bloody lightning. Countless laws poured down, causing a big explosion in the depths of the universe. After thousands of years of deduction, this day has finally come. In the age of Dharma ending, all cultivators will be suppressed by heaven and earth, and their cultivation will be forcibly deprived of them over time. In the end, everyone will return to heaven and become mortals. An old monster with a terrifying cultivation level spoke, and his voice shook the universe. Its eyes opened, and countless star domains were absorbed into it. The terror was boundless. When his voice spread everywhere, tens of billions of creatures were filled with fear. The age of Dharma ending has arrived and everyone will be unable to practice. This is terrible news for everyone. Soon, a powerful race began to take action, wanting to escape from this world and unwilling to rot here. In just 3 days, all ethnic groups were in turmoil, running away and scattered, and there was blood and chaos everywhere. However, soon another powerful old monster spoke up to stabilize the various races. Don't worry, everyone. According to our deductions, this era of Dharma ending will not last long, and the suppression will not be too strong. When the great Tao of heaven and earth corrects itself, everything will be restored. As soon as the sound came out, the various tribes that were initially turbulent barely calmed down and began to wait for the world to stabilize. However, only 5 days later, the oppression of heaven and earth became even more severe. On this day, practitioners below the king level felt that their cultivation was dissipating rapidly, and it was impossible to stop it. No, didn't you say that the suppression in the Dharma ending age won't be too strong this time? Why is our cultivation declining? It's broken. My realm is also declining rapidly. My lifespan has been reduced by 300 years. Me too, my origin has begun to be damaged, and I can't stop it at all. Countless creatures screamed, extremely unwilling. Even the stronger ones, such as the clan leaders of various tribes and the heads of various great saint lands, felt that they were a little overwhelmed at this time. With their cultivation, they are unable to withstand the oppression and deprivation of the Dharma ending age, and they want to retaliate to heaven. After realizing that things were getting worse, all ethnic groups had no choice but to use their secrets and began to look for a way out. I feel that the suppression of heaven and earth this time is too sudden and fierce. It is not as simple as those ancestors deduced. I also feel like this. This world is so oppressive that I have fallen to a great level. Yes, those ancestor-level figures still have the strength to withstand the suppressive force brought by the decay of the law of heaven, so naturally they can stand and talk without pain in their backs. But we can only suffer in vain and watch our strength decline. Quote, Shish, be careful, those ancestors cannot be spoken or read, they can destroy you in a single thought. Someone advised cautiously. However, now that the matter is at a critical moment of life and death, who will care so much? If you are going to die, who cares whether you are an ancestor or not? So what if I just scolded you? If we hadn't listened to that ancestor's nonsense, how could we be here waiting to die? Their strength is enough to support them in protecting the entire ethnic group. Of course, standing and talking will not hurt your back. The cultivators of some ethnic groups cursed and felt unhappy. As a result, on that day, a huge finger descended from the sky and wiped out that person's entire tribe. This is the terrifying, intimidating power of those ancestor-level figures. As soon as this incident came out, the whole world was in an uproar. Who dared to curse those ancestors behind their backs? However, although human words can be suppressed with absolute means, the suppression of heaven is extremely real. Half a month later, the suppression of heaven and earth became stronger, and many people once again fell to a great level. What's even more miserable is that the realm even keeps falling. In the end, the Tao foundation is damaged and can no longer practice. There are not many such people. From heaven to hell, it only took 1 day, and no one could accept this result. And the suppression of heaven and earth doesn't stop there. In addition to all the practitioners being deprived of their cultivation and returning to heaven, even the treasures of heaven and earth began to dry up, and the spiritual energy existing in heaven and earth was greatly reduced in comparison. If it took 500 years for a holy medicine to be born before, then it now takes thousands of years for a holy medicine to mature. Its preciousness has skyrocketed. Oh my God, why is the great Tao so cruel? Is this to completely cut off the way for us ascetics to survive? I don't want to return justice to heaven, I also want to break through the extreme realm and exist in the world forever. Why is heaven so cruel? Quote. I don't know how many creatures are shouting, looking up to the sky and howling. However, the great Tao is ruthless, and if you take something, you give it away. No living being can change this situation. Qingshu Mountain, Qingshu Sect. A young man with sharp eyebrows and starry eyes and a slender and tall figure opened his eyes on the back mountain retreat platform, his brows furrowed slightly, and he was quite worried. His name is Qi Dao, a transmigrator who came from transmigration 10 years ago. However, he did not obtain Goldfinger like other transmigrators. Instead, he was extremely talented and was brought back by the Supreme Elder of Qingshu Sect. The Qingshu Sect may not be great, but its strength ranks among the 4 strongest sects in the central region, second only to those outside the world. In the eyes of ordinary practitioners, it is already the sacred land, the highest spiritual path. Now, he is already the saint child of Qingshu Sect, with a respected status. According to the Master, the Supreme Elder, as long as he is given another 10 years, he will definitely be able to take over the position of head and make the Qingshu Sect strong for another 1,000 years. However, all this came to an abrupt end after the end of the Dharma age. No matter how talented he is, he can't resist the terrifying oppression of heaven and earth. I have lost a lot of strength again. If this continues, I will fall down the realm before long. Qi Dao let out a long sigh, feeling unwilling but feeling powerless. Even his master, leader and others were in seclusion, unable to withstand the terrifying suppression of the power of heaven and earth. In this world, Qi Dao already has a clear grasp of the realm. Body refining, soul refining, Yun Shen, kings, pathfinding, Quantian, honored lord, sacred mandate, immortality. He is in the realm of creating a new realm, but now his realm has dropped, and he is about to break through to the king realm in reverse. Although the realm of everyone in the sect has fallen a lot to varying degrees these days, in comparison, he has not fallen much. But this is not something to be happy about. Once one embarks on the road to immortality, who would be willing to be ordinary again? Just when Qi Dao was worried, a mechanical voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Ding! System awakening. Congratulations to the host for successfully awakening the Dharma Ending Era simulation system. Do you want to conduct the first simulation? The system voice said. Hearing this cold voice, Qi Dao felt ecstatic and almost burst into tears. After 10 years of waiting, the system finally woke up today, and Qi Dao decided to conduct the first simulation without hesitation. Quick, system, I want to simulate it right away. Qi Dao said to the system impatiently. The moment the simulation system appeared, he already knew its function. The world simulated by the Dharma Ending simulation system is exactly the same as the world he is in now. It is also the Dharma Ending era, and the general environment is exactly the same. The difference is that in the Doomsday Era simulation system, he can squander any resources unscrupulously, and finally reset and start a second simulation. In the Doomsday Era simulation system, there are no restrictions and you can enter and leave at any time. In addition, if the simulation is successful in the simulation world, all simulation resources will be obtained. This makes Qi Dao extremely looking forward to it. With all the resources in the simulated world, he can find a way out unscrupulously and then go on in reality. The simulation system of the end of the Dharma age has been started. Please prepare the host. 10, 5. 1. The countdown is over. The first simulation of the Dharma Ending Era simulation system has officially begun. As soon as the system's sound sounded, Qi Dao felt like he had entered a whole new world. Without any hesitation, Qi Dao immediately mobilized the system to send all the training resources for training simulation. I want to see if the suppression of strength in this world is really so cruel. There must be a way to break the shackles. Qi Daoshan said. He didn't waste any time and started his first simulation. In the first year, you consumed the cultivation resources of Zhujiao, but due to the suppression of the Dharma Ending age, you only broke through to the realm of the Lord. In the second year, your cultivation stagnated. In the third year, your cultivation level began to loosen and decline. Quote. In the fifth year, the oppression of heaven and earth became even more severe. Your cultivation level began to plummet, from the realm of the Lord to the realm of the Tao. In the eighth year, you desperately took the elixirs, but those elixirs also decayed, so your realm fell to the Yunshen realm. Quote. In the 10th year, the oppression of the age of ending law has reached its strongest point. You have completely become immortal and begun to experience birth, old age, illness and death. Quote. In your 80th year, you were depressed and lonely. Ding. The first simulation is over, and the system automatically restarts the age of ending law. Summary of this simulation. You were unwilling to fall into the mortal world. You practiced crazily for the first 10 years, trying to resist the power of heaven and earth, but in the end you could not resist the destiny. Evaluation. The life of an ordinary monk. Qi Dao was dumbfounded and sat on the ground, feeling extremely painful. This is the first simulation. It can be said to be very dull and without any waves. In reality, this is the ultimate destination for everyone. But how could Qi Dao settle for being ordinary? I even have a system, but I don't believe I can't find a way to survive in this age of Dharma ending times. Qi Dao gritted his teeth and immediately performed the second simulation. The second simulation of the end of Dharma era begins. In the first year, you took the initiative to go down the mountain and visited all the great places of opportunity, but you returned without success. In the second year, your cultivation level fell to the king realm level and you were trapped in a secret realm. In the third year, you are trapped in the secret realm. Quote. In the fifth year, you were trapped in the secret realm, and your cultivation level dropped to the level of spirit forging. Quote. In the 10th year, you died. The second simulation is over, and the system automatically restarts the age of ending law. Summary of this simulation. You are too arrogant, and you will eventually die of arrogance. Evaluation. It's a very frustrating death. Qi Dao. It's too difficult. Is there really no solution in the Dharma ending era? No, do it again. Qi Dao was unwilling to give up and really didn't want to just lie down. The third simulation of the end of the law begins. In the first year, you learned from the previous lessons this time, collected all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and refined the divine source that conceal yourself. The second year, this is the first year that you proclaimed yourself, successfully sealed your cultivation and was not affected by the power of the great Tao. Quote. In the 10th year, your sect was destroyed, and you, the self-styled one, were buried at the foot of the mountain. Quote. In the 50th year, the suppression of heaven and earth has reached its extreme, and it has already affected you, the self-proclaimed one. Quote. In the first 100 years, although your cultivation level fell to the king realm in the divine source, you were lucky compared to all the corrupt practitioners in the world. In the second 100 years, your realm has fallen to the realm of spirit forging, and your contemporaries have long since turned into Lois. In the fifth 100 years, you died of old age in the source of the gods, but the age of ending Dharma has not yet ended. Ding. The third simulation is over, and the system automatically restarts the age of ending law. Summary of this simulation. You are very stubborn. You wanted to survive the age of ending law from the beginning, but you still died. Evaluation. This is the longest you have ever lived. Listening to the cold voice of the system, Qi Dao was already expressionless. Even though he was so stubborn and claimed to be in the divine source, he was still eroded by the power of the great Tao, and finally died in the years. What made his scalp numb the most was that the age of Dharma ending, which had lasted for 500 years, still showed no signs of ending. This is really unexplainable. No, if you try again, I don't believe you can't find a way to survive. Qi Dao said again. Soon, the fourth simulation began. As expected, the fourth simulation failed again, and he only lived for 30 years before being shot to death. Come again. Qi Dao was a little numb and immediately started the simulation for the 5th time after resurrecting. Then the 6th, 7th, 50 times. Not long after, the 100th simulation was over. Qi Dao still had no clue. On the contrary, his eyes were glassy and he became even more numb. The 100th simulation is over, and the system automatically restarts the age of ending law. Summary of this simulation. You have no clue, frantically seek supplements from external objects, and finally just start playing. Evaluation. Poor. Quote. Chi Dao covered his head in pain, recalling his 100 uninterrupted simulations. But no matter how much he reflected, prepared, or even practiced all the Dharma, he still found it difficult to survive the age of ending Dharma. It's so confusing, what should I do? Chi Dao grabbed his hair, wishing he could even scratch off his scalp. At this moment, he suddenly thought of the 100th simulation summary given to him by the system, and an idea flashed in his mind. Foreign objects. I'm frantically seeking foreign objects to replenish myself, but how can it be possible to beat the speed of recycling by heaven? If God doesn't grant it, do I have to rely on external things? The current Dharma and body refining systems are in line with those before the end of the Dharma era. They need to rely on absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to improve their cultivation. Then why can't I rely on myself, tap my own potential, and create a new body refining system? Chi Dao's idea was so subversive that he found it unbelievable even when he thought about it. But soon, his eyes became firm again. Since what I practice is the Tao, I will now use myself as the Tao to find a way out. God, I won't rely on you this time. Chi Dao raised his head, glared at the sky, and let out a long roar. This time, he became energetic and motivated again. System, start simulation again. Chi Dao had a clue this time and was no longer like a headless fly like before. Ding! The 101st simulation of the end of law begins. In the first year, you want to create a new body refining system this time and start tossing your own body. Half a month later, you lost all your cultivation and voluntarily became immortal. In the second year, you did nothing and were driven down the mountain because of your madness. Master can't protect you. In the third year, you starved to death on the streets. The 101st simulation of the age of ending is over, and the system automatically restarts the age of ending. Summary of this simulation. Evaluate. After the resurrection, Chi Dao was stunned and looked confused. He wanted to open up a new body refining system, but he didn't expect to starve to death on the street. I have to say, this is really the most crotch-stretching time in his sim's life. No, you can't cut off your own cultivation in advance. Now I need to use my own cultivation as a support point to constantly explore and develop my own potential. Until you find a way to succeed. Yes, that's it. Chi Dao sorted out his thoughts and did not fall down because of a pull on his crotch. Soon, the 102nd simulation of the Dharma ending era began. In the first year, you learn your lessons and start to tap into your potential based on your current cultivation. The next year, you get something, but you wonder why you have a bald tail. In the third year, you continue to explore your potential. Quote. In the fifth year, your cultivation level dropped to the King realm, but you were happy because the speed of the fall slowed down, but you were also puzzled because tentacles grew on your body. Quote. In the 10th year, you made a major breakthrough and formed a nascent soul outside your body. However, at the same time, you completely lost your cultivation and became immortal. The only difference is that you have a few more tentacles on your body. Quote. In the 15th year, the nascent soul that was born from your heart was born. Fortunately, it was a boy. Quote. Quote. Stop, system, I want to end this simulation. Chi Dao, who was simulating, woke up and realized what the hell is this nascent soul? It was clearly his own fault. Does the host really want to end this simulation? There may be surprises in the future. The system reminded you warmly. I surprise you, sir. Isn't this a surprise? Restart now. Chi Dao shouted. This feeling made him want to hit him to death. Exploring one's own potential and finding a son. This is so confusing. Call. After reorganizing his thoughts, Chi Dao calmed down and knew that he must have made a big mistake somewhere and went astray. Afterwards, he summarized the problems of this simulation again and started the next simulation. The 103rd simulation starts. In the first year, you carefully explore your potential and avoid giving birth to a nascent soul again. In the second year, you made a major breakthrough. All the internal organs in your body blossomed. You regarded it as your own great Tao flower and carefully protected it. Quote. In the 4th year, your cultivation level dropped to the king realm level, but at the same time, the flowers in your internal organs became more brilliant. Quote. In the 10th year, your cultivation has been completely lost and you have become an ordinary person, but the flower of the great Tao that you cherish so much has not been affected and is still absorbing nutrients from you. In the 11th year, just 1 year later, you have become as skinny as a stick, and all the flesh and blood essence has been drained from your body. In the 12th year, your great Tao flowers bloomed. It was the last thing you saw before you died. They grew out of your body. This simulation is over. Qi Dao came back to life again, his expression gradually painful. Obviously, the direction this time is wrong again. It will either bear fruit or bloom. Who can withstand it? Where is the physical great Tao? Is it possible that I am wrong? In fact, the physical body does not have much potential and everything is already doomed. Qi Dao continued to reflect and started the next round of simulation. For the next whole day, he continued to be resurrected again and again in the simulated world of the end of Dharma era, trying again and again to break through the limits of his physical body. When 1 day passed, Qi Dao's 500th simulation of the Dharma ending era came to an end. After experiencing 500 times of constant death and groping, this time he really made a huge discovery, and his ideas became clearer from the beginning. All things are born and create one creature after another, which itself is a manifestation of Tao. The reason why you can absorb spiritual energy for practice is because your flesh and blood body is naturally close to the Tao and is in harmony with the great Tao. Correspondingly, when the great Tao suppresses ruthlessly and deprives all living beings of the way to cultivate, only flesh and blood is left intact. In other words, flesh and blood are real, all things are empty, and all laws are non-existent. The way of the flesh is the way of reality. Qi Dao's eyes lit up, and he constantly confirmed the experience he had accumulated from these 500 deaths. Now, he couldn't help but sigh, these 500 times were not in vain. System, start the next simulation immediately. Qi Dao swept away his fatigue and said again. Ding. The 545th simulation starts. In the 1st year, you voluntarily gave up the Taoism you practiced, collected all the physical scriptures and started practicing. In the 2nd year, your body becomes stronger and you can punch 800 kilograms of force with one punch. In the 3rd year, the great Tao of heaven and earth suppressed you, and your cultivation fell to the king realm, but you didn't care, because your one arm reached 2,000 kilograms in a flash. Quote. In the 10th year, your physical strength has made a greater breakthrough. You can reach a strength of 5,000 kilograms with one hand. At the same time, your cultivation has been completely lost and you have become immortal. But what makes you happy is that your physical strength has not been weakened from beginning to end. Quote. In the 50th year, you have spent half your life, and your appearance has not aged too much, and the strength of one hand has exceeded 8,000 kilograms. Quote. In the first 100 years, you are already old, but you are still getting stronger. You have successfully broken through 10,000 kilograms with one hand. In the second 100 years, you are extremely old and can no longer increase the power of your body. But before you die, you feel the new power born in your flesh and blood, and you close your eyes with joy. The 545th simulation is over, and the system will restart the age of Armageddon. This summary: your path has gone in the right direction, and you have lived for 200 years with only the power of flesh and blood. Evaluation: pioneer in opening up new paths. Is this considered a success? You have lived for 200 years with only your physical body. After hearing the system's evaluation, Qi Dao was not happy at all. This is indeed a huge gain compared to before, but problems also arise. As long as any body refiner works hard like him, he can reach at least 5,000 pounds, not to mention 10,000 pounds with one hand. In other words, it is no different from simple body refining. The problem is that the new body refining system that Qi Dao wants to open up in his heart is a completely different way of practice from today's Dharma. It is a Dharma that can break through the shackles of heaven and earth and become immortal and powerful. Only living to be 200 years old was definitely not his original idea. However, Qi Dao soon thought of the power of rebirth he had felt before his last simulated death. That feeling was very real and absolutely true. It should be that the physical limit I broke is not enough. I must break through to a more terrifying realm of flesh and blood in a shorter period of time. Qi Dao reflected again and learned valuable experience from the last simulation. Then, he started the simulation again. The 546th simulation starts. In the first year, you took the time to devote yourself to body refining and practiced like crazy. With your previous experience, this time you have exceeded the strength of 2,000 kilograms with one hand. In the second year, your strength skyrocketed and you broke through 5,000 kilograms of strength with one hand. In the third year, your cultivation level declined. Quote. In the 10th year, your physical strength exceeded 8,000 kilograms, which was 5 times shorter than the last time. Of course, your cultivation has been completely lost. On the 20th year, your strength with one hand successfully broke through the limit of 10,000 kilograms, and you felt the new power again. In your 50th year, your strength has exceeded the limit of 30,000 kilograms. At the same time, you find that your appearance has not aged, and your lifespan is abundant. In the first 100 years, your strength limit exceeded 50,000 kilograms, but you can't increase it anymore. This time you don't have to worry, take the initiative to understand yourself, and it will take 10 years to sit down. Quote. In the second 100 years, your appearance has become a bit old, but at the same time, there is a terrifying power of blood brewing in your body, and you have begun to have an epiphany. In the third 100 years, you have finally made a huge gain. You have enlightened yourself in the flesh and blood, and discovered a strong enough vitality of qi and blood. In the 350th year, your flesh and blood and root bone have successfully transformed, and your appearance has returned to that of a 20-year-old. In the fifth 100 years, your strength has increased again. You can reach a terrifying strength of 100,000 kilograms with one hand. You often move mountains with one hand to exercise yourself. In the 600th century, you can reach a strength of 200,000 kilograms with one hand, but you feel that you have not reached your limit yet. In the 700th century, your flesh and blood underwent a second transformation. Spirituality was developed in your flesh and blood. You can reach 300,000 kilograms of power with one hand. In the 900th year, your one-handed strength has exceeded 500,000 kilograms, and you can reach 3,000 feet in one jump. In the first 1,000 years, you once again had an epiphany and understood the fundamental method of the physical body. It was also in this year that your cultivation level improved. The first realm you opened was named Blood Refining Realm. The strongest method in this realm is the fundamental law of the physical body. In the 1,200th year, your one-handed strength has exceeded the limit of 1 million kilograms, and your cultivation has also reached the perfection of the blood refining realm. From then on, the strongest limit of the blood refining realm has reached the standard of 1 million kilograms. Quote. In the 1,201st year, you tried to break through again, but accidentally blew up your own body. Death. Congratulations to the host for the success of this simulation. You have obtained all the heavenly materials and earthly treasure rewards used in this simulation. Summary of this simulation. Physical enlightenment, successfully opening up the first and most important realm, blood refining realm. Evaluation. The founder of the new body refining system. Listening to the sound of the system, Qi Dao suddenly woke up and opened his eyes again. However, this time his eyes were completely different. After a lot of hardships, he finally successfully simulated the first major realm of the new body refining system. Everything is difficult at the beginning, but those 500 deaths were not in vain, allowing me to successfully open up a new path to Taoism. It's a pity that if I hadn't accidentally exploded my body in the simulated world, I could have lived for at least 1,000 years, and maybe I could have opened up a second realm. Qi Dao thought, ecstatic in his heart. He really succeeded and was able to practice again in the simulated Dharma ending age with abundant lifespan. If it were told, this would definitely be earth-shattering news, and the whole world would be excited about it. However, Qi Dao did not get carried away because of this. He calmed down and prepared to try the first great realm opened up by practicing. At the very least, if he succeeds, he will be able to withstand the power of the great Tao and increase his strength. So, Qi Dao didn't think much, closed his eyes again and went into retreat. What is different from the simulated world is that this time he is practicing the body refining system he developed in the real world. If he fails, he will die on the spot and turn into withered bones. But often, Someone must take the first step into such a new field. The fundamental method of the physical body. Qi Dao mobilizes the blood and energy in the whole body, rather than the spiritual power in the muscles and veins. This is also the huge difference between the new body refining system and the old body refining system. The old method is to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to strengthen itself, but the new method is different. It is practiced with the power of one's own flesh and blood, completely self-sufficient, just to break one's own limits. Not only that, the fundamental method of the physical body that Qi Dao understood is the Dao method that is most suitable for the first great realm, blood refining realm. As the founder of Qi Dao, no one understands the importance and power of the fundamental law of the physical body better than him. Soon, the qi and blood in Qi Dao's body began to circulate with the mobilization of the fundamental method of the physical body. Since this time it was a new method of direct practice without any trace of the old method, the practice was particularly fast. Coupled with the massive rewards given by the system, the speed of practice has doubled. In just one night, Qi Dao's root bone and flesh and blood have already undergone transformation, and the power of one hand directly exceeded 100,000 kilograms. When he opened his eyes, his pupils were incomparably intimidating, and the power of energy and blood freely emanating from his body crushed a fine iron stone in the retreat. This is the horror of the new body refining system. Not to mention that Qi Dao is just starting out, and he has only cultivated the blood refining realm to the 5th level. Well, it seems that the level of blood refining realm will be a different state for other practitioners. For some people, reaching 100,000 kilograms may be their limit and they can reach the next great realm. Or 30,000 kilograms may be their limit. But I am the only one who knows that 1 million pounds is the true ultimate power of the blood refining realm. And only when I break the limit in every realm can I glimpse the fog of the next great realm. Qi Dao thought deeply and retreated again. As he cultivates all the way, the level of the blood refining realm is gradually improving. When he transformed for the second time, when the strength of one hand could reach 300,000 kilograms, he had already reached the 15th level of the blood refining realm. In other words, 100,000 caddies corresponds to 5 levels of improvement. Qi Dao didn't care much and continued to practice. In half a month, he cultivated to the limit of the blood refining realm through the fundamental method of the physical body, which is the 50-50 level of the blood refining realm. Now, his one-handed strength has reached 1 million kilograms. This means that the new body refining system has been initially successful. I succeeded. Qi Dao opened his eyes and looked at himself. Nowadays, his flesh and blood are extremely powerful. Even if he hits himself with his law treasure, it will not leave any trace at all. Instead, he grabbed his law treasure, and with just a slight squeeze, another Dao-level law treasure exploded in his hand. This is the terrifying physical power of the million-kilogram extreme state. My physical body alone is enough to compete with the cultivators of my current level, and I can easily destroy the law treasure. If a second realm is opened up, there will definitely be an even more astonishing change in strength. Moreover, now that the new body refining system and the old body refining system coexist in my body, I have to find an opportunity to abandon the old body refining system, so that the new body refining system can completely take root in my body. Qi Dao thought about it and knew that now was not the right time. And just as he was leaving seclusion, a beautiful figure quietly appeared behind him. Then, a pair of white hands gently covered his eyes from behind. "Senior brother, who do you think I am?" A soft and cute voice came from behind, and Qi Dao knew who it was without even listening. He smiled slightly, grabbed junior sister Yuqing's hand and pulled her in front of him. "You play this kind of trick on me every time, how can I still not know who you are? Tell me, why are you here with me again?" Qi Dao said in a gentle voice. Junior sister Yuqing is his master, the daughter of the supreme elder of the Qingshu sect. She has been following him since he entered the school. The two usually treat each other as brother and sister, and they have a very deep relationship. "Can't I miss you, senior brother? You have been in seclusion for half a month. I can't see you even if I want to, and no one is with me." Yuqing muttered her little mouth, her voice was soft, and she acted coquettishly towards Qi Dao. "Sure, it's just that now that the age of ending Dharma is coming, both the master and the headmaster are trying to think of ways to preserve their cultivation. I am no exception. I have to go into seclusion to find a way out. I also know that I have really neglected you during this period, so can I go out with you to play now? Qi Dao touched her head and said, which made Yu Qing smile. As long as Qi Dao can accompany her, it is her greatest wish. This is what you said, senior brother. I want you to stay with me these 2 days. As for the age of ending Dharma, come and come, I don't care, as long as you are here, senior brother, I won't be afraid. Yu Qing smiled, showing 2 cute little tiger teeth. Good. Qi Dao took a deep breath and said nothing more. At the same time, he was thinking about whether to pass on the newly cultivated body refining system to his junior sister, so that she would not be affected by the age of ending law. But after thinking about it, Qi Dao felt that something was wrong. I have just opened up my first big realm, and I still don't have any clues about what lies ahead. If there is any trouble, the consequences will be quite serious. Of course, he decided to inform his master about this matter. He must be able to see the way with his vast knowledge and experience, and maybe he can also give him a lot of support. Senior brother, what are you thinking about? Yu Qing looked back not far away, her face was stunning and her smile was extremely bright. This scene was deeply fixed in Qi Dao's heart. He must completely develop the new body refining system, and then let his junior sister live forever. Coming, Qi Dao smiled slightly, calmed down his complicated emotions, and followed. The two walked side by side from the back mountain retreat into the dojo. Qi Dao found that no matter whether they were senior brothers or sisters, they all had dull eyes without exception. Obviously, the arrival of the age of ending Dharma has filled everyone's hearts with despair, and naturally they have become depressed and have no intention of practicing anymore. Good morning, senior brother Saint Child. As expected, it must be senior brother Saint Child. This level of cultivation has not declined at all. Then we must be sure that our senior brother Saint Child can be an ordinary person. When Qi Dao walked by, many disciples greeted him and expressed envy. Qi Dao is very natural and easygoing, without any pretensions to being a saint child. This is only temporary. It won't be long before my cultivation level will inevitably fall. However, you don't have to worry too much. There will always be a way. You must have hope. Qi Dao appeased everyone. It is also impossible for him to directly pass on the newly developed body refining system to his brothers for fear of future troubles. Oh, stop talking, brother Saint Child, we have already accepted our fate. What is there to say about being born in such an era? I can only accept that I will gradually decay and become immortal. Yes, many fellow disciples have already taken the initiative to leave the school and enter the world early to take root. But we are not willing to give in. Who wants to fall from transcendence to decay? If someone can find a solution, I will be a cow and a horse for him for the rest of his life. More than just being a cow or a horse, I'll just kneel down and call you daddy. Quote. The emotions of the brothers and sisters present gradually became high, and everyone spoke to me one by one. Seeing this scene, Qi Dao had nothing to say, so he kept talking and left with Yu Qing. Now, only Yu Qing beside him is extremely cheerful and optimistic. Everyone else looked lifeless after falling into the realm, but Yu Qing's mood did not change and she still spent every day happily. Just when Qi Dao and Yu Qing were preparing to go down the mountain for some fun, a familiar and loud voice came. Qi Dao heard clearly that it was his master's voice. Qi Dao, come to master's cave mansion quickly. We have something important to discuss. The tone of his voice was serious, not his usual tone. Disciple, come right now. After Qi Dao heard this, he immediately bowed to where Master Cave Mansion was. Snort. Dad, did you do this on purpose? I haven't seen my senior brother for half a month, and you called me back again. Yu Qing immediately gritted her teeth and stamped her feet. Qi Dao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he quickly comforted her. It's okay, I'll go and get back soon. It won't be long. Yu Qing is not a messy person, she just feels reluctant to give up. Okay, senior brother, please come back quickly. I'll be waiting for you at our usual place. Yu Qing said reluctantly. Qi Dao waved his hand and came to the cave mansion of his master, Elder Yu Xuanzi. Disciple Qi Dao asks to see you. Enter. After the light flashed at the entrance of cave mansion, Qi Dao walked inside and saw his master. Yu Xuanzi is not that old, but there is a majesty between his eyebrows that makes people dare not look directly. Do you know why I came to you this time? Yu Xuanzi spoke, looking calmly at his most capable disciple. Is it because of what happened in the age of Dharma ending? Qi Dao blurted out that it was not difficult to guess. And Yu Xuanzi nodded, very seriously. You also know that now that the age of Dharma ending has arrived, the entire world is suppressing practitioners. My teacher and all the elders have discussed and deduced that this end of the Dharma era will last for a long time. When the time comes, even us old guys won't be able to withstand the suppression of great Tao. For the sake of safety, we decided to use the divine source to let Yu Qing and other inner disciples seal it first, leaving the hope of future generations to re-emerge as a sect. How do you feel? Yu Xuanzi asked directly. However, after Qi Dao heard this, he felt 100 unwillingness in his heart. Because, when he was in the simulated world, he had already experienced self-isolation once, but in the end he died of old age. He will never allow this to happen again. Therefore, Qi Dao instead took a step forward, looked into his master's eyes and said firmly, Master, I don't think it's appropriate, but I have a method for you to observe and practice. It may be the best way for us to survive the end of the Dharma era. Law. In recent days, the master and the master have tried all possible methods. There is no method that can withstand the great Tao's suppression. Unless there is a law that does not belong to this world, then it will not be affected by the great Tao of this world, but that is impossible. My teacher knows that you are also worried and want to find a way out. You don't need to be too stressed. My teacher has already planned it for you. As the saint child of our Qingwei sect, you should focus on the future. Hearing Qi Dao say there was a way, Yu Xuanzi shook his head and refused. If it were before, Qi Dao would definitely give up, but this time it is different. What he created is a brand new body refining system. No, Master, you must observe and practice this method. Disciple, I promise, your eyes will light up. Qi Dao said firmly again, this time not giving in to his master. Kindness. Yu Xuanzi felt that something was wrong with his disciple. In the past, he never talked back to him. Maybe it was because he was under too much pressure. But seeing Qi Dao's firm gaze, he felt a little shaken. Did his disciple really make a new discovery? It feels unlikely. In that case, you can demonstrate it. Yu Xuanzi said with an attitude of taking a look, not thinking that the method Qi Dao said could have any effect at all. As soon as this was said, Qi Dao was immediately delighted and bowed respectfully. Thank you, Master, please take care of me. Qi Dao took a deep breath and mobilized the vast sea of blood in his body. Boom. His qi and blood made a thunderous sound, extremely thick and majestic. Not only that, his heartbeat was even more powerful, like a big drum beating. Kindness. As expected of my disciple, he has practiced this physical method well, and he is actually able to produce such a vision. Yu Xuanzi looked at Qi Dao, who had just started, and sighed secretly in his heart. But I still don't see any difference between this method and the ordinary body refining method. And soon, Qi Dao used the fundamental method of the physical body to gradually bring out the ultimate strength of his blood refining realm. A ray of blood fell and weighed tens of thousands of kilograms. The pressure was so great that Yu Xuanzi's cave mansion actually produced dense cracks. This surprised Yu Xuanzi. What is going on? His cave mansion is guarded by formations he personally laid out, which cannot be broken through by ordinary means. But now, he was surprised to find that the blood energy emitted by his disciple ignored his formation patterns and caused cracks in the cave mansion. This is something extraordinary. What kind of body refining method is this that can achieve this? Is it the thousand-tempered works that was lost in ancient times? Yu Xuanzi kept guessing in his mind that the body refining technique in front of him did successfully attract his attention, but there were not many highlights. Qi Dao naturally saw the meaning in his master's eyes and smiled in his heart. This was just the beginning. Drink. Qi Dao opened and closed, and every inch of flesh and blood became crystal clear. Soon, a new and immortal power emitted from his flesh and blood, which was full of spirituality. This makes every subsequent punch and palm move of Qi Dao seem to be contrary to the way of heaven and earth. It is not a way at all. By the end, the aura on Qi Dao's body was even different. The majestic and thick qi and blood just now transformed into another kind of secret power, which actually blocked the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. It should be said that he completely ignored the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. After sensing this scene, Yu Xuanzi's casual eyes changed instantly, becoming sharp and eager. Isn't this kind of power what all ascetics desire today? For a moment, Yu Xuanzi's heart was filled with turmoil. His mood was ups and downs, and he wanted to find out what happened. At this time, Qi Dao also stopped the new technique on his body at the right time and looked at his master. Master, what do you think? Qi Dao bowed and said. Yu Xuanzi felt very uneasy now, and it took him a while to wake up. Disciple, what kind of method is this that allows you to ignore the influence of the great Tao of heaven and earth? Yu Xuanzi asked immediately. This is a big discovery and must be reported to the headmaster immediately. He thought to himself, reporting to master, that is actually not a law, but a brand new body refining system that I created. We have just opened up the first great realm, but as you can see, we can already initially ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Qi Dao said directly, without any secret. A new body refining system that you created yourself. Yu Xuanzi frowned when he heard Qi Dao say this. He knows very well that since ancient times, many people have created the body refining system. They all want to get rid of the shackles of heaven and earth and become the founder of the new body refining system. Their ambitions are very high. However, those ambitious people eventually either went crazy or died suddenly and inexplicably. And often the body refining system they develop is difficult for others to practice, and even forced practice will make others go crazy. In short, it's just 3 words, unreliable. Disciple, have you seen any records in ancient manuscripts recently? My teacher must advise you that it is almost impossible to create the body refining system. Don't get yourself involved. The Qingshu sect will still rely on you in the future. Yu Xuanzi spoke earnestly and hoped that his disciple would not take detours. After all, there have been many such arrogant geniuses since ancient times, but they all ended tragically. No, Master, you misunderstood. I know what you are worried about, but I have never seen those ancient manuscripts, and I have never been obsessed with them. If you don't believe it, you can naturally explore the changes in my flesh and blood, and you will know for yourself then. Qi Dao had already thought about various situations that might arise after informing his master, so he naturally prepared his words in advance. And as long as Yu Xuanzi probes his flesh and blood, he can immediately find the difference. It seems you are determined not to give up today. It doesn't matter, I will make you completely convinced as my teacher. Yu Xuanzi said earnestly, and then he poured all his heart into Qi Dao's flesh and blood. At first, Yu Xuanzi didn't take it seriously, he just saw the majestic and vigorous blood. But soon, he made a surprising discovery. Every inch of Qi Dao's flesh and blood is pregnant with new power, just like a butterfly waiting to emerge from its cocoon. However, every inch of Qi Dao's flesh and blood is gestating new Taoist power. It is no exaggeration to say that every inch of Qi Dao's flesh and blood is now a treasure. If any piece of it is released for those big shots to get, it will be able to ignore the influence of the great Tao in the world for a period of time. Even some defiant people can create a brand new body refining system based on this. Yu Xuanzi quickly understood everything and was immediately shocked. He calmed down, then looked at his disciple in disbelief, his voice trembling for the first time. Disciple, did you really create a new body refining system by yourself? Absolutely true. Master, what my disciple just demonstrated to you is the first big realm I created, called Blood Refining Realm. As the name suggests, it is to train oneself, follow one's own path, no longer rely on the great Tao of heaven and earth, and seek the limits of flesh and blood. It is precisely in this way that we can ignore the influence of the great Tao of heaven and earth, thus giving birth to the power of new life, and nourishing spirituality from flesh and blood, so that we can practice. Compared with the body refining method, there is a huge gap. Qi Dao explained it word for word to his master. Yu Xuanzi was extremely focused at this time and was already shocked by his disciple's courage. To be able to open up a new body refining system, even if it is only the first big realm, it is definitely a stunning talent, a genius that is unparalleled in the past and the present. Very good. It seems that this time you really opened up a new path and succeeded, instead of being like those who went astray in ancient times. Can you tell me, my teacher, how you came up with this idea? It is not an easy task to open up a new body refining system. It often requires the joint efforts of countless people to ensure that we do not go astray and at the same time open up a new path. Yu Xuanzi said. This is what shocked him. His disciple is so young and has only been in seclusion for a period of time. He has successfully achieved this step without any help from anyone else. In his opinion, this is simply impossible. Qi Dao had already prepared his words, knowing that Master would definitely ask clearly. Of course, he couldn't directly tell himself that his master actually had a system that could be simulated infinitely. Nor would he say that he had died more than 500 times and experienced countless failures before he finally had an idea. Reporting to Master, I actually found inspiration in those body refining methods. You think, flesh and blood can carry the Tao, allowing us to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to practice, but we are deeply restricted by the great Tao of heaven and earth. Once you lose your cultivation, the only thing that is intact is flesh and blood. In other words, flesh and blood itself is a kind of Tao, and it is the real Tao and is not affected by the great Tao. If you follow this idea, you will be able to get a clear direction. Qi Dao said slowly that this was all his insights, and it was true. He just skipped 500 deaths. Facts have also proven that this path is indeed correct. The physical body itself is a kind of Tao, so if we seek the Tao of the physical body internally, all external methods will be empty. Okay. As expected of the saint child of my Qingshu sect, my understanding ability is different. I can actually comprehend such unique insights and ideas in the body refining method. We old guys have been thinking hard for more than half a month, and finally we just barely came up with a solution. Well done to you, you directly solved the fundamental problem. Yu Xuanzi laughed and said, sweeping away the haze since the Dharma ending era, and his whole person became radiant. However, he quickly calmed down and thought that Qi Dao had only opened up the first big realm so far. Disciple, everything is difficult at the beginning. It is naturally a great thing that you can open up the first big realm. But do you have any next ideas? You still have a long way to go if you want this body refining system to be fully formed and support your practice to the point of immortality. Yu Xuanzi looked at his disciple and said, it can be said that opening up subsequent realms without any reference is no less difficult than opening up the first big realm. This is why it is almost impossible to develop a body refining system, and it is often easy to completely break it off due to a slight deviation. I understand, Master. Now that I have some clues, I am here to show you this method first. With your experience and vision, you may be able to give me more suggestions and opinions. Qi Dao said respectfully. Anyway, I now have an infinite simulation system, so I can just continue exploring according to my ideas. There is no need to be afraid of death. Yu Xuanzi nodded after hearing this, his eyes full of appreciation. Very good, you didn't get carried away because of this and look down on others. It's a great pleasure to be a teacher. However, the relationship between this matter is too great. As a teacher, I can't tell anything for you. Let's do this, you will go to find the headmaster as your master, and then we will work together to help you open up the next great realm. Yu Xuanzi said, this is destined to be a major event that shakes the world and makes people cry. There is no room for carelessness. If you succeed, you will be the ancestor of future generations and leave your name in ancient history. Even if you fail, it will be enough to leave valuable experience to future generations, and you will also have great achievements. Yes, disciple, listen to the master. Qi Dao naturally has no objection. Whether they are head teachers or their own masters, they have practiced the old method for many years and have read countless scriptures, classics and manuscripts from previous sages, so their vision must be sharper and more accurate. Sometimes just one sentence can save him from groping hundreds of times. So, Yu Xuanzi waved his sleeves and took Qi Dao out of cave mansion and went straight to the master's retreat. The leader is retreating in an innate cave mansion, still looking for a solution. When Yu Xuanzi rang the bell at the door of cave mansion, the headmaster was a little upset. If there's anything we need to discuss in a few days, don't interrupt. The headmaster's voice sounded. If it were the past, Yu Xuanzi would definitely not persist. But this time is different. The matter is too big to tolerate any delay. Brother headmaster, Yu Zan has something important to see you. It's related to the solution to the end of the Dharma era. Yu Xuanzi said, very firmly. This made the headmaster who was in seclusion inside frown slightly, and he felt a little angry. Didn't we already discuss it before and seal all the disciples of the inner sect in the divine source for future generations? What else is there to say? The master teaches the way. Yu Xuanzi was very patient and said slowly, "Brother, this time we have a better solution. We can ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth without having to declare ourselves in the source of God." Kindness. Yu Xuanzi's words attracted the attention of the headmaster, and the cave mansion in front of him finally opened. "Come in." The headmaster calmed down and said. Yu Xuanzi immediately brought Qi Dao in. "Why is Saint Child here too?" The tall and handsome headmaster looked at Qi Dao, who was following behind, somewhat puzzled. "Report to the headmaster, Qi Dao, he has comprehended the new body refining system. Now he has opened up the first great realm and can initially ignore the great Tao of heaven and earth." "Are you joking? How can a new body refining system be developed so easily?" The headmaster obviously didn't believe it. Qi Dao immediately stood up and bowed respectfully to the headmaster. "Master, please observe and observe. You will understand clearly." After Qi Dao said that, he demonstrated the blood refining realm again, and its majestic and vigorous power of blood instantly filled the entire cave mansion. At first, the head teacher, like Yu Xuanzi before, also thought it was a body refining method. Until later, he was frightened as he watched. His expression became more and more excited, and his hands couldn't stop trembling. Judging from the past and present, this is really a brand new body refining system. The headmaster was so excited at the moment, his eyes were fixed on Qi Dao. Judging from his cultivation level, there is absolutely no mistaking it. It is definitely a brand new body refining system, and it is flawless. It is a completely correct path. This also shows that one can indeed ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. "Qi Dao, do you have a name for this body refining system?" The headmaster asked excitedly. He searched through the classics today, trying to find a better way, but he didn't expect that his saint child would bring him a huge surprise today. If word of this spreads, it will definitely be a major event that will shake up the past and the present. When future generations look back, they will know that an amazing genius opened up a new body refining system. The impact is really huge. "Yes, my disciple calls it the blood refining realm," Qi Dao said, and then explained why blood refining realm was named so in his own thoughts. After hearing this, the headmaster couldn't help but applaud and then burst out laughing. Okay, there is no perfect path for everyone. In the age of Dharma ending, all Dharma has withered and the great Tao has suppressed it, but it also forces us to find new ways and open up a new body refining system. So, you have now practiced this blood refining realm to the point of great completion, and have tried to ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. The headmaster asked again expectantly. Qi Dao gave an extremely positive answer. "My disciple has already tried it. He can practice even when the heaven and earth are exhausted without being cut off. Moreover, my disciple has also cultivated to the limit of his physical body. Nowadays, one arm can weigh up to 1 million kilograms with the movement of one arm." Qi Dao said confidently. 1,000,000 pounds. Both his master Yu Xuanzi and the headmaster took a breath when they heard this terrifying physical power, feeling that it was too unreal. "Are you really sure?" the headmaster asked in shock. Headmaster can test it himself. Qi Dao smiled slightly. "Good. This is one of my law treasures. It's called Wanjin stone. 1 inch weighs 30,000 kilograms. There are 10 inches here. You try it first," the headmaster said, taking out a piece of black iron. After being activated, this piece of stone flew towards Qi Dao. Even though it is only 10 inches in size, it weighs a terrifying 300,000 kilograms. If it were an ordinary disciple, even the use of Taoism would not be able to block this terrifying weight, let alone the pure power of the body. For a moment, both Yu Xuanzi and the headmaster were sweating, fearing that Qi Dao would not be able to stop him. The headmaster is even more prepared to immobilize Wan Junshi, and it is impossible to let Qi Dao fall into danger. Fortunately, when the stone fell in the end, it didn't hurt any of Qi Dao's hair. Instead, he easily caught it in his hand without any burden. "Headmaster, this piece of stone is too light." Qi Dao smiled slightly, not pretending, but really relaxed. As he spoke, he gently pinched the piece of stone. Then, Yu Xuanzi and the headmaster's eyes widened. There were 5 clearly visible fingerprints on the law treasure. In the hands of Qi Dao, there is no difference between this piece of law weapon and tofu. If he wants, he can crush it right away. Hiss. Yu Xuanzi and the headmaster couldn't help but take a breath and looked at each other, realizing how terrifying Qi Dao's body was now. At this point, they were completely convinced and had no doubts in their hearts. Okay, what a terrifying life. In this case, I will immediately summon all the elders from Qingshu sect to come here. When the time comes, we will devote all our teaching power to help you develop a complete body refining system. The headmaster said excitedly. This matter was so important that he had to be cautious. After all, the outside world is currently in turmoil, and everyone is panicking because of the coming of the age of ending Dharma. People are falling into decline every day. Nowadays, there is a brand new body refining system that allows them to ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Who wouldn't be tempted? Therefore, Qi Dao directly became the hope of the entire Qingshu sect. This, master doesn't need to be so aggressive. Qi Dao said quickly when he heard that the head teacher wanted to devote all his efforts to cultivate himself. How could I, a junior, make the headmaster and all the elders give so much? This is for sure. You will definitely need a lot of resources to open up subsequent big realms. Don't worry, as long as you need it, the entire Qingshu sect can be given to you. The headmaster waved his hand and said. Then, he took out a big golden bell and rang it. This golden bell is usually only used when the sect encounters extremely important things. This time, it is only the third time it has been used since the establishment of Qingshu sect. When the mighty bell rang, all the elders were alerted and rushed to the ancient meeting hall as quickly as possible. It's such an emergency. Could it be that there is an invasion from a foreign enemy? Impossible. Who wouldn't think of causing trouble for our Qingshu sect? Then what's going on? Quote. For a while, the elders who came over murmured and whispered in their hearts. Not long after, the headmaster arrived, along with Yu Xuanzi and Qi Dao. After all the elders and headmasters were in place, Qi Dao stood in the center of the ancient palace, being scrutinized by all eyes, which made him feel quite uncomfortable. Elders, I am alarming you because I have something important to say. From now on, everyone in Qingshu sect will devote all their efforts to cultivating Saint Child for his enlightenment and practice. The headmaster was full of majesty, and his voice rang in the ears of every elder. Headmaster, what does this mean? Didn't you say that Saint Child and the others should be sealed in the divine source first? A supreme elder said in confusion. There are a total of 5 supreme elders in the Qingshu sect, and apart from the headmaster, they are the ones with the most say. No, there's one thing you won't expect. Saint Child Qi Dao, with his outstanding talent, has found a new way in this era of Dharma ending times and created a new body refining system. I have observed the new method, but I can ignore the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth. The headmaster said slowly. One stone stirred up 1,000 waves. The headmaster's words were so shocking to all the elders present that no one dared to believe them. Headmaster, are you saying that Saint Child created the body refining system? An elder asked dumbfounded. Good. Qi Dao, please demonstrate it again and let the elders see it. The headmaster said to Qi Dao again. Qi Dao naturally had no objection, and once again demonstrated the blood and blood power of the blood refining realm, astonishing all the elders. That's not all. Look, everyone, this is a stone weighing 1 million kilograms. After the headmaster said this, what he threw out this time was a 33-inch piece of stone. Just when all the elders were panicking, thinking that Qi Dao was going to be crushed to death, they all witnessed an extremely shocking scene. Qi Dao was able to lift 1 million pounds of stone with one hand using only his physical strength. What kind of terrifying physical power is this? For a moment, all the elders widened their eyes and took a breath. 1 million kilograms of stone can be held up by one hand. How terrifying is the power of flesh and blood? Is this really the new body refining system? Is it so powerful? Quote. In the ancient palace, all the elders were amazed, and dozens of eyes were focused on Qi Dao. Soon, the headmaster took back the 10,000 stones and looked at the elders present. Everyone, what do you think? This is not a lie. Whose flesh and blood can reach this level? Let me ask you and me, can we do this with just the power of flesh and blood? The headmaster spoke. Even with his master's cultivation level, it is impossible to lift that 1 million kilograms of power with the strength of his body, let alone with one hand. As expected, All the elders shook their heads, feeling ashamed. Headmaster, I have a question. Since this is a new body refining system, to what extent has it been developed? And how should it be named? An elder asked. Naturally, Qi Dao came to answer. He saluted the elder and began to explain. Currently, the disciple has just opened up the first big realm. I call it blood refining realm. This new body refining system is based on exploring the true way of one's own flesh and blood. In short, this does not rely on outsiders, but only takes itself as the true way. Qi Dao spoke eloquently. Don't rely on heretics, just rely on yourself. For a moment, all the elders fell into thinking. Qi Dao's words really overturned their cognition. Good, I agree. Saint Child has such courage and is able to develop a new body refining system in this environment. I should give you my full support. A supreme elder made a decision directly and decided to bet on the future. I agree. In that case, I agree. Me too. Quote. As all the supreme elders expressed their opinions, the remaining elders all agreed after weighing the pros and cons. There is no doubt that this is a big event, but the elders of the entire Qingshu sect are willing to bet on the future and place all their bets on Qi Dao. For a time, Qi Dao felt the pressure doubled, but at the same time he became more confident. From now on, if Saint Child needs anything, just ask. As long as I have it, I will give it to you. Yes, I also have a lot of treasures of heaven and earth stored in my cave mansion. Anyway, the heaven and earth are exhausted and they will all decay, so I might as well use them. I can provide scriptures and classics. I have in my hand the experience notes of predecessors who created the body refining system. I have a formation in my hand. Quote. The elders seemed to be in a panic, and they all wanted to take out what they had at the bottom of the box. Even the headmaster was no exception, and wanted to take out all the treasures that held the sect. This made Qi Dao feel warm and grateful. Thank you elders for your understanding and support. Disciples must do their best to live up to expectations. If one day the disciple succeeds, he will share the great Dao with the master and the elders. Qi Dao saluted and knelt down in the center of the ancient temple to thank all the elders. He is not a wolf-hearted person. Since the headmaster and the elders have devoted all their efforts to cultivate him, he will definitely repay the kindness of the drop of water. Ha 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 ha. Looking at what you said, isn't this also for ourselves? Don't worry, you just need to study the great Tao well, don't have any worries. Even if the sky falls, we old guys will still be there to support you. A supreme elder spoke sonorously and forcefully. Qi Dao thanked him again, silently remembering all the elders in his heart. All right, since all the elders have agreed, then the matter is settled. From now on, Qi Dao, you will go to my cave mansion to retreat, and we old guys will personally protect you so that you will not be disturbed. The headmaster waved his big hand and even gave up his own cave mansion. Qi Dao was grateful in his heart. He did not refuse this time and agreed. He really needed a secluded place to practice. Thank you, Master. After the discussion, all the elders went back first and began to empty their cave mansion. Any good things they had were sent to the Qi Dao retreat place. In just one day, the cave mansion where Qi Dao retreats has been filled with countless scriptures, manuscripts of ancient sages, and treasures of heaven and earth. The preciousness of these things surprised Qi Dao. Did Qingshu Zong really move all the family property to himself? This so-called pouring out the power of teaching is not an exaggeration at all. Disciple, you can retreat in peace. We and the headmaster will stay outside cave mansion to protect you. Outside, Yu Xuanzi's voice came, which shocked Qi Dao again. That's right, in addition to these heavenly and earthly treasures, there are also headmasters and 5 supreme elders who are personally guarding the law. Not to mention there are 30 other elders who have sealed off the entire Qingshu mountain at this time, and no one is allowed to enter or exit. Now even if a fly wants to get close to Qi Dao, it will be wiped out immediately. Feeling such a huge battle, Qi Dao couldn't help but cover his face. He is definitely the first saint child to receive such treatment. It seems that junior sister will inevitably complain again. I promised to go out with her, but I can only do it next time. Qi Dao apologized in his heart and immediately began to retreat. System, start simulation. Ding. The 547th simulation starts. In the first year, you were trained with the power of education, and you meditated on the great Tao of flesh and blood. In the second year, you took the initiative to disperse the cultivation base of the old system. In the fifth year, you tried to break through the physical strength of 1 million kilograms but failed. Half of your body exploded. In the 10th year, everyone lost their cultivation and became mortals. Only you are not affected by the power of the great Tao. In the 50th year, you have gained something again. The spirituality bred in every inch of flesh and blood begins to feed back the flesh and blood. In the first 100 years, your sect has completely turned into Lois, everyone you know has passed away, and you are still comprehending the way of flesh and blood. In the 200th year, you once again found the right path. You raised your soul in flesh and blood, and on this basis, you gave birth to Taoism. You found that your cultivation level has increased again. In the 400 years, you have completely opened up the second great realm. The power of the soul has spread to the bones and internal organs. You call the second great realm nourishing the spirit. The strongest spell in this realm is you call it spirit nurturing technique. This simulation is successful and has ended automatically, and the heavenly materials and earthly treasures consumed this time will be distributed as rewards. Summary of this simulation. I went with the flow and explored a deeper level. Evaluation. The foundation of Taoism was born, which is of great significance. The moment the simulation ended, Qi Dao opened his eyes instantly, feeling overjoyed. This time's simulation was much smoother than before, and it was successful in just one try. Just like the summary of the system, this time I just followed the trend and successfully reached the second big realm without spending much effort at all. Counting the time since he went into seclusion, it has only been less than half a day. The next step is practice in the real world. This time, I will cut off all the cultivation of the old system and let the new system take root in my body. Qi Dao secretly said. During the simulation, he had understood everything in advance. If the old system and the new system coexist in the body, they will conflict with each other and eventually become the biggest obstacle in his body. Therefore, Qi Dao was very decisive this time. He did not need the great Tao of heaven and earth to suppress him, he cut off all the cultivations by himself. Afterwards, Qi Dao closed his eyes and practiced spirit nurturing technique with all his strength. At the same time, the headmaster and others who were protecting the law outside felt an inexplicable energy. Why did Qi Dao cut off all his cultivation by himself? Aren't you afraid of hurting your own foundation? A supreme elder said in surprise. They were always paying attention to what was going on inside, so they could naturally detect what was happening immediately. It looks like there shouldn't be any. Moreover, have you felt it? Qi Dao seems to have begun to transform, and a new Taoist power is beginning to be born. The headmaster spoke. Sure enough, when Yu Xuanzi and others felt it quietly, they noticed such a brand new power. What a natural talent! Looking at the entire ancient history, he is definitely the person with the most amazing talents and qualifications besides the person who created the old body refining system. Such people can often become ancestor-level, immortal figures in the future. Yu Xuanzi sighed and said that the other elders had this idea in their hearts, and they became serious about protecting the law. Qi Dao in the cave mansion is frantically absorbing the surrounding treasures, all of which are supplied to his flesh and blood to nurture his soul. Under the blessing of the second most powerful spirit nurturing technique in the second realm, Qi Dao's physical body transformed rapidly, not to mention the massive amount of heavenly materials and earthly treasures for him to absorb. However, even so, Qi Dao spent half a month in retreat. During this period, the outside world caused another sensation. Because all the ascetics feel that the oppression of heaven and earth has become stronger and more terrifying. For those cultivators with low cultivation levels, their realm has fallen even further, and some creatures have already become mortals in advance. Why is this happening? Is this the end of the Dharma era still further suppressing it? Is it really not giving us any way to survive? This time, not only as ascetics with lower cultivation levels have fallen, but also the sect leaders and elders of all races and religions have begun to fall. If this continues, won't our world become a lawless world? In the outside world, everyone is in danger and is really afraid. Their cultivation is falling again and again, and no one can withstand such a blow. Even those at the level of clan leaders and sect masters couldn't help but feel even more frightened. This time the age of Dharma end and the suppression of heaven and earth show no signs of ending, but are becoming more and more terrifying. Soon, no one knew who discovered that after killing other cultivators, they could rob each other of their origins, and actually be able to keep their own cultivation. Suddenly, the world was in shock. Isn't this reasonable? Who dares to do such a destructive thing and cruelly deprive others of their origins to protect their own cultivation? If you do this, won't you be afraid of retribution and being hunted down by all races? It must be severely punished. Who can cultivate so easily and want to become food for others to maintain their cultivation? I don't know how many people are criticizing this with words and writings, and they hate it deeply. However, Pandora's magic box has been opened, like an invisible black hand beginning to cover the entire world. Everything has changed imperceptibly. What? An elder from the tyrant sect is here with someone. The headmaster who was protecting Chi Dao frowned when he heard the disciple coming to report. The tyrant sect is one of the 4 major sects in the central region that is as famous as the Qingshu sect. The person coming here at this time is really intriguing. Didn't you tell him that our Qingshu sect has closed the mountain and no longer welcome visitors? Report to the headmaster, the disciple said, but the elder was very strong and ignored the disciple. The disciple in front of me said. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 supreme elders who were in charge and here heard loud laughter coming from midair. Headmaster Qingshu, you are fine. I came here with my disciples to look for him, but he turned away the guests. What does this mean? An old man stepped on the auspicious clouds and laughed loudly with several disciples. While speaking, he did not wait for the master's consent and directly descended. In an instant, the headmaster's face turned gloomy. Elder Xuanming, are you going too far? Without permission, you dare to step directly into the important place of my Qingshu sect. Aren't you afraid that I will catch you and go back to your headmaster? Headmaster Qingshu said coldly. He was very calm and did not take action immediately. This is because he felt that there were still a few powerful auras in the void, but their true forms were not revealed. Even though it appears to be one person on the surface, there are actually no less than 5 people secretly involved. After realizing this, Master Qingshu's heart trembled. The great Tao of heaven and earth had just been suppressed, and the strength of both him and all the elders had declined. If someone comes to your door at this moment, don't make his intention too obvious. Ha ha ha, Headmaster Qingshu is joking, you are so enlightened, how could you do such a rude thing? This time I am here. Firstly, I want to make friends with your sect on behalf of our sect and join hands to resist the age of ending law. Secondly, I just want to bring my juniors with me to have a brief discussion and exchange experiences on cultivation. What do you think? Zhan Ming said with a smile, with a tentative tone. At this time, the headmaster and all the supreme elders realized that this person was here to test the truth. Seeing how confident he was, everyone knew that these guys were just robbing others of their origins and preserving their cultivation. Now I want to step on it. If you don't answer or show weakness, others will definitely see the flaw, and you will definitely pay a huge price later. At this moment, the headmaster and the 5 supreme elders already knew what was going on, so they had no choice but to bite the bullet and agree. This battle can only be won, not defeated. Okay, then let me do some tricks with you. Yu Xuanzi stood up directly and said. Then, Zhan Ming shook his head. This is a dispute between the younger generation of disciples. We old guys can just watch it. Let's do this. I will send one person here first, and you will also send one person, how about it? Chapter 11. Good. Yu Xuanzi agreed directly, but immediately he regretted it. Because, except for old guys like them, the strength of the disciples in the sect has dropped drastically. If you come prepared when facing the opponent, you will probably be in trouble. Not to mention that Chi Dao is still in retreat. Who can stop these young people? Ha ha ha, so refreshing. This is an outer disciple of my sect, named Wu Gong. You go out first, remember to be measured in your actions, and don't hurt the harmony between us and the Qingshu sect. A hint of a successful smile flashed across Zhan Ming's face. This time he came here to clarify the actual situation of Shuzong's decline in realm and to prepare for the future. As long as the Qingshu sect showed even half of its decline, there might even be a bloody storm today. Disciple understands. The young man named Wugong walked out arrogantly, with a look of disdain in his eyes. This made the headmaster and the 5 supreme elders frown even more and couldn't help but clench their fists. The other party only sent an outer disciple, which was clearly looking down upon them. However, there is nothing they can do. If they send out outer disciples whose realm has fallen even more, they will definitely be beaten violently. In desperation, the headmaster had no choice but to call out an inner disciple. Chongqing, you have a discussion with this fellow Taoist, remember to finish it. Yes, disciple understands. Chongqing saluted and walked out. His strength has dived from the king realm to the first level of Yunshen realm after falling. Compared with the third level of Yunshen realm of the outer disciple in front of him, it is actually a bit lower. In comparison with this, the headmaster's expression was even more ugly. He, Headmaster Qingshu, aren't you bullying others? I just called out an outer disciple, but you are an inner disciple. Although the strength has dropped, the foundation is still there. This disciple of mine is definitely no match. If you win, we will naturally have nothing to say, but it will inevitably be said that you are bullying the small. But if we win, won't this undermine the prestige of your sect? Although Zhan Ming said this verbally, the smile on his face was bright, as if he was deliberately showing off to the people of the Qingshu sect. Snort. If you get an advantage, you will act like a good boy. If you want to be beaten, you will be beaten. Why should you say more? Headmaster Qingshu said forcefully, not being used to the other party. Good. Headmaster Qingshu calmed down. Zhan Ming then gave up angrily and signaled to his outer disciples that they could take action. Aha! In an instant, Chongqing fought against Wugong, and the great accomplishment became a mess. At the beginning, Chongqing was able to barely suppress the opponent with his solid foundation, and wanted to resolve the battle quickly. However, things went against his expectations. Now he has fallen a big level. He is already depressed. In addition, the other party is in a higher level than him. He came prepared, but he was suppressed and beaten later. Not long after, Chongqing was slapped on the shoulder by the opponent. He kept coughing up blood and fell back. He was obviously defeated. Stop, we are defeated. Headmaster Qingshu sighed imperceptibly, raised his hand, gave Chongqing a healing spirit pill, and let him go down. This scene made Yu Xuanzi and others present feel deeply frustrated and unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. Hateful. If senior brother Chongqing hadn't fallen in realm, how could he not be able to defeat an outer disciple? If it were before, senior brother Chongqing could blow the opponent's head off with just one finger. Let me teach this fool a lesson. Quote. In the Qingshu sect, several inner disciples were extremely angry and wanted to take the initiative to vent their anger on Chongqing's behalf. When Wugong saw this, his expression became more and more proud. The meaning is obvious. Your inner disciples can't even beat me, an outer disciple. It's simply a shame. My disciple just struck too hard and accidentally defeated the inner disciple of your sect. However, please rest assured that Headmaster Qingshu and the elders, this is just a small discussion among the younger generations and will not be spread out. Then, will anyone from your sect end up next? Zhan Ming's pride was written on his face, which was annoying and made him want to punch him. Yu Xuanzi was furious and wanted to fight out, but was held down by the Supreme Elder beside him. Then let's have one more person. Xiaolong, you come this time. Headmaster Qingshu could only bite the bullet and name an inner disciple again. It was the disciple who just wanted to take the initiative to teach the opponent a lesson. He had a very hot temper. However, his realm has also dropped to the level of Yunshen, and he is still not as good as the outer disciple opposite. Come on, I'll crush you with 3 punches. Xiaolong clapped his fists, fighting high. Soon, the war broke out again. Xiaolong was a master of both magic and physical skills. After the battle began, he managed to gain the upper hand with the power of his physical body. And his offense is indeed crazy. He doesn't need to defend at all, just attack with all his strength, just to finish the opponent with 3 punches. Drink. Body and fist technique. Wugong unexpectedly burst out with considerable physical strength and faced Xiaolong head-on. In the end, after more than 50 rounds, Xiaolong was beaten until he kept vomiting blood and could not hold on. You lost. Wugong raised a finger and said disdainfully. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Qingshu sect fell silent. At this point, none of their disciples can beat the other, an outer disciple. Headmaster Qingshu, is there anyone else? My disciple seems to want to continue. Zan Ming took this opportunity to say again that his intentions were very sinister and he came here to deliberately humiliate the Qingshu sect. Just as Headmaster Qingshu was about to refuse, he heard a clear voice. Headmaster, I'm coming. The owner of the voice was Yu Qing. She held her head high and her eyes were firm. She couldn't bear to see the Qingshu sect being humiliated by a small outer disciple. Crazy girl, what do you want to do? Yu Xuanzi suddenly became anxious. This daughter of his usually only cared about playing around with Saint Child, and rarely practiced attentively. He just didn't say it, but he knew it in his heart. I told you, I'm coming. Yu Qing said firmly. Then, she drew out her sword and walked firmly. Seeing this, Headmaster Qingshu had nothing to say. It turns out she is the noble daughter of Elder Yu Xuanzi, so I need to pay more attention to her. Wu Gong, please come back temporarily. Zan Chao, this time you come, remember to be merciful. Zan Ming's eyes lit up, he seemed to have been prepared for it, and this time he actually called out an inner disciple. When this Zan dynasty walked out, it exuded the aura of the King realm, which was a level higher than Yu Qing. Yu Xuanzi became even more anxious, wanting to catch this crazy girl like herself with a slap. Please enlighten me. Yu Qing saluted with a long sword in hand. However, the other party was not so polite. While she was saluting, he attacked first and slapped her with all his strength. This was planned. Be bold. Yu Xuanzi was anxious and reacted immediately. However, there was a shadow that was faster than him, blocking Yu Qing's path almost instantly. Boom. Yu Qing was safe and sound, but Qi Dao blocked the palm with his body. What shocked everyone was that Zan Chao's full-strength palm not only did not hurt Qi Dao in the slightest, but actually shattered his own palm. You want to kill my junior sister, are you looking for death? Qi Dao turned around, his cold gaze frightened the Zan Chao in front of him, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. And in the next second, Qi Dao raised his hand and slapped the opponent into a puddle of meat. Brother. Seeing Qi Dao appear, Yu Qing ignored the presence of others and hugged Qi Dao directly, clinging tightly to his body. Just now, she was almost killed by Zan Chao. Never mind. As long as I'm here, who can touch you? Qi Dao comforted her softly, looking at Zan Ming in the sky without showing any signs of weakness. Now, he has cultivated to perfection the second great realm he has opened up, and has a foundation in Taoism. Be bold. You dare to kill my inner disciple of Tyrant Sect. Zan Ming was immediately angry when he saw this scene. He never expected that Qi Dao would directly shoot an inner disciple on his side to death as soon as he appeared. You know, in this age of Dharma ending, even an inner disciple is extremely precious. Now that he has been beaten into a pulp, his heart is bleeding. As he spoke, he used his divine ability, and the billowing spiritual power enveloped the sky like a dark cloud. Then, a big hand fell directly to kill Qi Dao. Old ghost Xuanming, do you think I don't exist? Yu Xuanzi also took action at the same time. Although his strength had declined, he was still able to block the opponent's palm. Boom. In the sky, the Taoism is gorgeous, like a colorful cloud exploding, the atmosphere is extraordinary. Yu Xuanzi, you are bullying the small with the big, it's not fair. We agreed to one-on-one, but you attacked me from behind and gave my disciple his life. Zan Ming was furious and seemed to not want to give up. At this moment, Master Qingshu moved. With overwhelming pressure, he condensed a magic seal, and even forcibly suppressed Zan Ming's methods. Zan Ming, all of us witnessed it just now. It was your disciple who killed first. He himself has reached a great level, but he still takes the first step and kills Yu Qing with one palm. Whoever comes first is unfair, do you know that? Headmaster Qingshu said coldly, with a look that left Zan Ming speechless. At this time, Qi Dao took the initiative to stand up. He looked directly at Zan Ming, not afraid. I killed the person, so what? Who is bullying the small with evil intentions? If you don't accept it, ask a disciple who is strong enough to come over and fight me. If you can defeat me, I will pay with your life. Do you dare? Qi Dao spoke up, standing tall and straight, daring to face the supreme elder of the Tyrant Sect in front of him. When he came out of seclusion, he had already heard the noise outside. He knew that this time the Tyrant Sect was here to test the reality. He must be tough enough to make the tyrant sect suffer and not dare to act wantonly. Okay, great. You like to show off, don't you? It turns out that the saint child trained by the Qingshu sect is an arrogant and murderous person. Zhan Ming glared, but didn't show any real expression. The main thing is that, except for the inner disciple, the remaining disciples around him are all outer disciples. And Qi Dao is saint child. In his opinion, even if his strength drops, he will definitely be able to crush his outer disciples. He doesn't want to lose his manpower in vain. What? You don't dare? Or are you afraid of someone like me who has no cultivation? Qi Dao took the initiative to reveal his flaws, which angered Zhan Ming. Sure enough, Zhan Ming was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and when he took a closer look, he suddenly discovered that all Qi Dao's cultivation had disappeared. It was not an illusion at all, but the truth. Dao Foundation was beheaded, and his cultivation level was completely gone. His muscles and veins in his body didn't even have any spiritual power. Is there really no cultivation left? After Zhan Ming carefully inspected it, he felt overjoyed and secretly mocked Qi Dao for being so stupid and taking the initiative to reveal the fact that he had no cultivation level. Originally, he was intimidated by Qi Dao's initial appearance, but now that he has fully reacted, he just wants to laugh. Tisk, tisk, tisk. It turns out that you have lost your cultivation. I thought you could still be as ferocious as before. It's just that I want to know, now that you are a cripple, are you still the saint child of the Qingshu sect? Zhan Ming's attitude changed 180 degrees and he sneered. What? Senior brother saint child has lost all his cultivation. All the disciples of Qingshu sect were shocked, and then their eyes went blank. Even their senior brother saint child has lost his cultivation. Is the Qingshu sect going to completely decline? The most worried person among them was naturally Yu Qingliang. The moment she learned that her senior brother had lost all his cultivation, tears welled up in her eyes, wishing that she was the one who lost his cultivation. On the contrary, the Supreme Elder and Headmaster, who knew the inside story, were not worried at all. Of course, in order to prevent Zhan Ming and the people in the dark from seeing the flaw, they still looked worried. Nonsense, one day Qi Dao is ours, the other day he is our saint child. Even if he is disabled, you can't take him lightly. Yu Xuanzi stood up, his voice sonorous and powerful. At the same time, he also looked at Qi Dao, hoping that the body refining system developed by Qi Dao could show strong combat power in this battle. Okay, you said that yourself. Wu Gong, go up and play with this saint child again. Remember, be gentle and don't hurt the other person. Zhan Ming seemed to have forgotten what happened before when Qi Dao slapped his disciple to death. Sure enough, Wu Gong was a little reluctant and slowly swallowed. Elder, you just saw that senior brother Xuanchao was slapped to death. Wu Gong suffered greatly and had great hatred. Zhan Ming glared at him and said, of course I know, but I also know that it was just a blow he made in anger. I can guarantee that he is just a mortal right now, putting on a show and trying to scare people. This is an opportunity to make a name for yourself. If you can hurt him, your status will naturally rise after you return. Quote. Wu Gong suddenly woke up and cheered up again. Yes, disciple understands, thank you elder for the tip. After Wu Gong said that, he entered the stage arrogantly. Only you. If we don't come together, you won't be able to watch it alone. Qi Dao said coldly. At the same time, he couldn't laugh or cry in his heart. Except for his senior brothers who were really unaware, the headmaster and elders were all acting with him. This is going to make the opponent bleed profusely. Joke. You are already a useless person and you still dare to say such arrogant words. I can kill you by myself. Wu Gong was very anxious at this time and wanted to make a name for himself. He had already killed him as soon as he finished speaking. I saw that the spiritual power on his palm surged, which was obviously using all his strength. Brother, Yu Qing suddenly became anxious and wanted to go up with a long sword to help, but Yu Xuanzi stopped her and prevented her from ruining the good thing. Father, senior brother, if something happens to him, I won't be able to survive either. Yu Qing was immediately forced to panic, and Li Hua cried with Yu, but Yu Xuanzi ignored her and just sat back and watched the show. At this time, Wu Gong also came to Qi Dao. But the next scene once again shocked Zhan Ming, who had the chance to win. Wu Gong's full blow seemed to hit a piece of 10,000-year-old fine iron, but Qi Dao didn't move at all. On the contrary, Qi Dao fought back and threw Wu Gong out as easily as he was catching a chicken, causing all the bones in his body to be shattered and broken. This person is completely useless. Has senior brother Saint Child really lost all his cultivation? Why did I just watch him throw it away and that person was immediately destroyed? Yeah, how terrifying is that physical power? Quote. The inner disciples of Qingshu sect were all dumbfounded and wanted to know, is it really so silky smooth? Especially Chong Qing and Xiao Long, who had just fought against Wu Gong. No one knew better than them how difficult it was to fight. But in front of Qi Dao, who has become a waste, Wu Gong can't even make waves. This is too unreal. At this moment, even Zan Ming was extremely shocked, as if he had seen a ghost. He stared at Qi Dao in disbelief, confirming that Qi Dao did not have any cultivation. But why? Wu Gong can't beat a useless person. Ah! Elder, I can't move, please help me. Wu Gong's screams brought Zan Ming back to his senses. In anger, he slapped Wu Gong to death. Snort, you're a useless person. You can't even defeat someone who has lost all his cultivation. What's the use of you? Zan Minghan said in a cold voice, which can be described as extremely vicious. The main thing is that he brought people here to test, but now he was slapped in the face directly, and he felt very unhappy. Elder Xuanming, there are many winners and losers among disciples. You also said that this is just a competition between disciples. Why vent your anger on him and slap a disciple who has worked so hard to train him to death? Headmaster Qingshu looked at this scene and then spoke. Qi Dao did not disappoint him as soon as he appeared on the scene. He easily killed the disciples of the Badian sect, which greatly frustrated the spirit of the Badian sect. In his opinion, it was almost time for Zan Ming to leave. This is our tyrant sect's business. Why does Master Qingshu care so much about it? My tyrant sect is different from you, we don't raise useless people. Zan Ming waved his sleeves and said, feeling very unhappy and relegating Qi Dao without a word. Hearing this, Qi Dao knew that he was unwilling, but he was not angry. He cut off the cultivation of the old system, and the other party naturally couldn't see his current depth. Are you afraid? If you can't defeat a loser like me, then wouldn't all the disciples of your tyrant sect be worse than losers? Qi Dao said sarcastically. There were some words that were inappropriate for the headmaster and the supreme elders to say, but he had no scruples and spoke on behalf of the headmaster and the supreme elders. Ha 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 ha. The inner disciples who looked defeated just now burst out laughing, feeling happy. Even Yu Xuanzi showed a smile, but it was not so blatant. Okay, Qi Dao, just say a few words. This sect has always been kind to others, so how can we say hurtful words to others? Don't forget, although you won, you have also lost all your cultivation. This battle is your last battle to regain your glory. Don't make enemies for yourself. Qingshu teaches the way. On the surface, it looks like he is admonishing Qi Dao, but in fact, he is deliberately revealing some information, causing Zan Ming to completely misjudge and think that Qi Dao has really lost all his cultivation. Realizing this, Qi Dao smiled inwardly. Isn't this a trick? The master's lesson is that if the disciple understands, then go back and review it. Qi Dao bowed his hands and stepped back. Brother. As long as you're okay. Yu Qing was able to move, crying like a little tabby cat, and pounced on him again. Qi Dao's heart moved, but he resisted hugging her. I'm sorry, junior sister, I'm a useless person now and I don't deserve your treatment. No, senior brother, don't do this. Yu Qing's heart felt as if a knife was piercing her heart, and she really wanted to say that she was willing to cut off her cultivation and spend time with her senior brother as a mortal. And just when Qi Dao was about to leave sadly under the gaze of all his disciples, Zan Ming stopped him again. Wait, kill me to teach a disciple, and you can leave if you want. If I don't get an explanation today, I will never give up. Zan Ming said aggressively. After listening to what Master Qingshu said just now, he thought that Qi Dao had really come to an end and had just returned to his former glory. If Qi Dao was allowed to end in glory like this, wouldn't his disciples of the tyrant sect die in vain? Therefore, an inner disciple once again walked out beside him, and his strength was on the 5th level of the King realm. Oh, what else do you want to explain? I admit that I killed one person, but don't you do the same. You can't have that life on my head, right? Qi Dao turned around and snorted coldly. That's not necessary. But you killed one of my disciples. It's not that easy to leave so easily. I have another inner disciple here, let's compete again. Zanming held on to it for fear that Qidao would run away. Nowadays, Qidao is still the saint child of Qingshu sect. He only needs to let his disciples defeat Qidao, and he will definitely make Qingshu sect lose face. When Qidao heard this, he glanced at Master Qingshu and couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the headmaster, his methods are really clever. Kindness. In this case, Qidao, please take action one last time. If this can make Elder Xuanming feel better, I, Qingshu, will be willing to pay. Headmaster Qingshu said expressionlessly. Zanming was immediately overjoyed. The opportunity for revenge had come. Headmaster Qingshu deserves to be the fairest person and has great courage. Don't worry, my disciple will be merciful and won't argue too much with a useless person. After Zanming finished speaking, he gave the disciple next to him a look. Inner disciple of Ba Tian sect, Yang Yun, please give me some advice. Come directly, I'm in a hurry, otherwise my time to shine will be over. Qidao said carelessly. Then, he took the initiative and seemed really anxious to end the battle early. Yang Yun's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately had an idea. He kept dodging, trying to delay time. Kill, I will leave the last glorious legend of Qingshu sect. After this battle, the Qingshu sect will spread the legend of my undefeatability. Qidao shouted loudly, as if he was sublimating. Seeing this scene, Xuanming was even more surprised. This kid was really going to die. Boom, PFF'd. Yang Yun was knocked away by a palm, but he didn't die this time. He suddenly felt hope. He is convinced that he can bring Qidao down. However, as soon as this idea came to his mind, Qidao came to him again, fists and palms intertwined, falling like raindrops. At this time, Qidao's forehead was already sweating, as if he was reaching his limit. Only Yu Xuanzi and other elders and headmasters knew that they were carefully controlling not to kill the opponent immediately because they were tired of acting. Otherwise, with a 1,000,000-kilogram body, a little force would be enough to kill the opponent on the spot. If you don't want to kill the opponent immediately, you must be careful and careful at all times. Senior brother, Yu Qing was extremely worried and couldn't bear it. Not long after, Yang Yun was defeated. He couldn't withstand a set of random punches and was beaten to death. The smile on Zanming's face suddenly froze. In the field, only Qidao was panting and sighing faintly. I can't do it anymore. I will try my best to defeat my opponent for the last time and strengthen the reputation of my Qingshu sect. Headmaster Qingshu, you have to give me an explanation. Zanming was furious. He really couldn't hold back this time and wanted to curse. He wanted to say, is this really a useless person who has returned to his former glory? Why does he still have such terrifying strength? Now, the disciples he brought have been wiped out by Qidao, and not a single one is left. His heart is bleeding. Explanation. What explanation? Didn't you, Elder Xuanming, ask for another fight? I just complied with your request. Do you want me to explain why Qidao still has such strength? That I can't do, Headmaster Qingshu said doubtfully. The meaning of that look is very obvious, it's just written directly on your face. Aren't you bringing it upon yourself? Zanming was so angry that his face turned the color of pig liver, and his body was filled with blood and energy, feeling distressed. Okay, Elder Xuanming, that's it for today. Isn't it normal for the younger generation to win or lose? Why should we care? Yu Xuan, see you off. Headmaster Qingshu was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Today's purpose has been achieved anyway. It can have a deterrent effect, letting outsiders know that even if it is suppressed in the age of ending law, the Qingshu sect is not so weak that it can't bear it. Zanming was so frustrated and felt like he had been cheated. Today, he came with his disciples in a fierce manner. He originally wanted to have a big fight and bring the Qingshu sect to its knees. As a result, this time it was his tyrant sect who was disgraced. He was very unwilling to do so, but there was nothing he could do about it. Elder Xuanming, please. Yu Xuanzi came out of the air and didn't give him a good look. Zanming immediately clenched his fists and looked helplessly in the air at the existences hidden in the void. Wait, Junior Tyrant Sect Saint Child, come to pay homage to Chaoshan. Qidao, do you dare to continue the unfinished battle with me last time? A figure suddenly appeared, bursting out of the void. He couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to stop the losses for Ba Tian sect. Otherwise, it would be unjustifiable to return with a huge defeat today. What? Is it the saint child of the tyrant sect, Chaoshan? How come his strength doesn't seem to have declined, but has actually improved? The expressions of the inner disciples of Qingshu sect changed instantly. Even Headmaster Qingshu frowned and looked at Qi Dao. Soon, he saw the confident eyes conveyed by Qi Dao, telling him not to be afraid of the sky in front of him. Headmaster Qingshu immediately felt relieved. You again. What do you mean by continuing the unfinished battle last time? You clearly lost one move from me and the winner has already been decided. What, are you here to bully me into becoming a useless person? Qi Dao looked up at Chaoshan Dao in midair. Chaoshan is not angry either. He knows that if Qi Dao cannot be made to pay the price today, the Ba Tian sect will really be embarrassed. One after another, disciples died at the hands of a useless person. This was too exaggerated. He didn't care whether Qi Dao really lost his cultivation. In short, it was just one word, fight. I don't care if you're a loser or not, since I'm here, I won't leave empty-handed. Headmaster Qingshu, this junior dares to challenge again, what do you think? Chaoshan looked at Headmaster Qingshu, but there was no respect in his eyes, but rather an aggressive look. Soon, Headmaster Qingshu and others knew why he was so confident. Fluctuations soon came from the void, and several powerful beings hidden in the void appeared. They were all the supreme elders of the tyrant sect. They appeared together and applied pressure together. Why, you all came here unexpectedly, do you also want to fight with us old bones? Yu Xuanzi was the first to stand up and did not give in to these people. Elder Yu Xuan was joking. We were just accompanying the juniors to have fun. This is a competition between them. In my opinion, let Qi Dao and Chaoshan fight again. One of the old men holding the Bagua roulette smiled slightly and exuded an extremely dangerous aura. Sensing the unkind intentions of several people, Headmaster Qingshu knew that it would be difficult to be kind today. At least, Qi Dao and Chaoshan are bound to have a fight. Then it will be as you say. But I have something to say first. After this battle, regardless of victory or defeat, if you come to disturb me again, don't blame Qingshu for being rude. Headmaster Qingshu said coldly, scanning the crowd. It's natural. The old man holding the Bagua roulette was wary, but at the same time he didn't think Chaoshan would lose. Before the age of ending law, Qi Dao had a battle with Chaoshan, and there was not much difference in strength between the two. But now it has been a month since the age of ending law. In his opinion, even if Qi Dao has not really lost his cultivation, his strength must have been greatly reduced. In this battle, he is confident that Chaoshan will win. Qi Dao, what do you think? Headmaster Qingshu looked at Qi Dao. The seniors of Ba Tian sect insist, so the juniors can only be respectful rather than obey orders. At the risk of thousands of years of prestige of our Qingshu sect, my disciples must return to their glory once more and suppress their opponents. Qi Dao saluted. This made Zan Ming's mouth twitch slightly when he heard it. What does it mean to return to the light again? Could it be that you can return to the scene infinitely this time? This convinced him that he had indeed been tricked just now. Bring it on. Whether you are a cripple or not, I will do my best. It landed in the sky and stood not far from Qi Dao, exuding a powerful aura of the Dao opening realm. The inner disciples of the Qingshu sect and Yu Qing were all worried after seeing it. Senior brother, don't worry, when have you ever seen your senior brother suffer a loss from me? Qi Dao turned around and gave Yu Qing a very reassuring smile. When he turned around, he became murderous, as if the primitive instinct in his body had awakened. At this moment, Qi Dao's blood boils, extracting the soul born from every inch of flesh and blood. This is a new Dao method. Batian fist. Chaoshan took action directly, and punched down, causing the space to tremble, as if it could break the sky. He attacked with all his strength, not wanting to give Qi Dao any relief. Come on, just let me weigh the power that the soul-nurturing realm can exert. The corners of Qi Dao's mouth raised slightly, showing a hint of excitement. This is the first time he has used the new body refining system completely. Boom! Qi Dao's punches were ordinary, but every inch of flesh and blood was shining, and his soul was constantly being stimulated. The moment the two fists collided, a terrible explosion occurred, and the ground beneath their feet shattered inch by inch. Moreover, just after the fight, someone vomited blood. Whose blood? Everyone was paying attention, with their hearts in their throats. When the dust and smoke cleared, they finally saw it clearly. It turned out that Chaoshan's mouth was bloodshot, and there was a shocking pool of bright red blood on the ground. With just the first move, Chaoshan has already fallen down, making the disciples and elders of Qingshu sect feel up and down. Brother Saint Child is mighty. Who said our senior brother Saint Child is useless? Even if you lose all your cultivation, you will still beat the Saint Child of the Tyrant sect. The inner disciples of Qingshu sect were all excited when they saw this scene. They were so excited. The Tyrant sect came with bad intentions, but now someone can slap them in the face, which directly shows the strong and fearless side of the Qingshu sect. This is the first confrontation between the new system and the old system, and it is of great significance. If Qi Dao can climb this mountain, the new path will be completely established. Secretly, Headmaster Qingshu sent a message to Yu Xuanzi. His heart was also filled with ups and downs of emotions, unable to calm down. Brother Headmaster is right. Judging from the situation of the first battle just now, Qi Dao has completely defeated his opponent. This is enough to prove that the new system is not only feasible, but also more powerful than the old system. I have a hunch that after this battle, everything in the old system will begin to be gradually overturned. It's just a matter of time. The age of ending Dharma may be the beginning of another vast and prosperous era, and the end of the old era. Yu Xuanzi said excitedly. This mysterious feeling is very strong, and only those who know the inside story know it and can deduce it. Well, I have such a hunch too. Qi Dao's talents are so amazing. At such a young age, he has already opened up a new Taoist system. What's the old saying? Exhaustion breeds new life, old laws breed new laws. One of the supreme elders intervened, but was quickly corrected. That's not an old saying, it's a prophecy. Yes, it's a prophecy. Quote. On the court, Chaoshan was unwilling to give in and confronted Qi Dao again. The two sides fought for hundreds of rounds in an instant, and the space was distorted, with blood and bones flying from time to time. Those were all caused by Chaoshan being injured. Seeing this scene, the 6 supreme elders of Ba Tian sect could not sit still, their brows were furrowed, and their eyes were fixed on Qi Dao, who took action. Something's wrong, so wrong. He obviously has no cultivation at all in his body, and his spiritual power is gone. However, there is some secret power in every move he makes. Where did the secret power in his body come from? Could it be that his physical body was born out of thin air? One of the supreme elders of Ba Tian sect said, puzzled. This is also something that Zanming and others cannot understand. They were even more surprised when they noticed the majestic blood in Qi Dao's body. That ray of blood weighed at least 10,000 kilograms. Even the most powerful body refiner they know cannot do this. What's going on with this kid? Could it be some kind of ancient method? The supreme elders of Tyrant sect were extremely confused and continued to observe the battle. 1,000 French sticks. My stick contains 1,000 weights of laws and weighs 100,000 kilograms. Can you stop it? Chaoshan was completely angered and embarrassed, and was forced to use his own secrets. This is a powerful technique that he has only recently mastered. It uses laws to suppress opponents. It is very powerful. The main reason is that he has been unable to defeat Qi Dao, who has lost his cultivation in front of him. He is very unbalanced and wants to end the battle as soon as possible. Kill. He poured all his spiritual energy into the Chinfa stick, and the weight of the stick in his hand suddenly increased dramatically. Every part of the weight is condensed by laws. From a distance away, the inner disciples of Qingshu sect felt a terrible feeling of suffocation. Chinfa staff, he has actually practiced to this extent. Senior brother Saint Child doesn't have law treasure. Is there anything going on? Probably not. Wait, why didn't senior brother Saint Child avoid it? He wanted to use his physical strength to catch it with his bare hands. That weighs 100,000 kilograms. Seeing this scene, Yu Qing and many inner disciples became anxious. Can flesh and blood resist the weight of 100,000 kilograms? What they didn't know was that Qi Dao's flesh and blood strength had already reached the terrifying level of 1 million pounds. To him, this mere 100,000 kilograms is no different than a piece of tofu. Will it hurt if you hit someone with tofu? The answer is self-explanatory. Bring it on. Use the laws of your old system to open up the way forward for my new system. I need this stick from you. Qi Dao stood there and even put down his hand, not picking it up at all. You just want to die, right? I'll make it happen for you. Chaoshan thought Qi Dao had given up completely because he thought he couldn't take on the challenge, so he worked even harder. He wants to smash Qi Dao into a pulp with one stick. Die. A shocking blow exploded into the sky, and the stick collapsed the space. Seeing this scene, Zanming felt completely at ease. Look, he will definitely die with this blow. That 1,000 Dharma staff is made from the condensation of thousands of laws. It is comparable to black gold and weighs 100,000 kilograms. This is the undisclosed secret of our tyrant sect. Zanming sent a message to the other 5 supreme elders in his sect, and everyone thought so too. Boom. A terrifying blow fell, impartially, and hit Qi Dao hard on the head, and thousands of laws poured down. At the same time, the terrifying weight of 100,000 kilograms fell, and a big pit appeared directly where Qi Dao was standing. This was even under the protection of the formation pattern. Otherwise, the destructive power will be even more amazing. Click. During the collision, a clear sound of a hard object breaking was heard. Just when everyone was confused, the chinfa stick that fell on Qi Dao's head broke, split in the middle, and then broke into 2 pieces. Chaoshan couldn't believe it. Did he hit the 10,000-year black iron with a stick? Then, the chinfa staff dimmed, and the laws above dissipated. When the stick came down, Qi Dao was not hurt at all. On the contrary, Qi Dao was inspired and caught a glimpse of inspiration at that moment. I have realized the next great realm. I will give birth to divine patterns of laws in blood and bones, all of which are the true way of the physical body, so that the physical body can be sublimated in all aspects. Thank you for this stick, which has created the future of the new system. Qi Dao appeared, his eyes glowing. The moment they looked at each other, Chaoshan's legs went weak, feeling inexplicably frightened. No, this is not true. How can you possibly carry a weight of 100,000 kilograms? Impossible. Chaoshan's Taoist heart was broken at this moment, and his eyes dimmed. At this point, he suddenly became desperate and realized that there was a huge gap between himself and Qi Dao. He couldn't explain the difference. He always felt that he was fighting against an irreversible behemoth. If there must be a description, that behemoth should be called the new body refining system. When the old and new body refining systems met for the first time, Qi Dao defeated Chaoshan of the establishing Dao realm with the second highest realm of soul nursing realm. This is the general trend. At this moment, inexplicable thunder rolled in the sky, and there was a hint of fear deep in the universe. A ray of cool breeze blew by, and the supreme elders of Tyrant Sect all fell into silence. Saint Child, whom they had worked hard to cultivate for more than 10 years, was crushed by their former rival Qi Dao after the beginning of the Age of Ending Law. Even if he uses 100,000 kilograms of thousands of French sticks, he is no match at all. You know, Chaoshan has maintained his cultivation by extracting the origin of others, but he can't defeat a useless person who has lost all his cultivation. How ridiculous. Qi Dao stood where he was, looking at Chaoshan who was slumped in front of him. Do you have anything to say? He asks. I want to know, what kind of practice do you practice? Chaoshan's lips trembled, and he no longer had any fighting spirit. He just wanted to know where he lost. Law, you might as well be a little bolder. The laws of the world have begun to pass and will be buried in the decaying old era. This is the Tao, the great Tao that is unique and unique. My opponent is no longer any of you, but the old laws and ways of this world. Qi Dao put his hands behind his back and said with a faint look. But he lowered his head and found that Chaoshan's eyes were full of confusion, and he couldn't understand the meaning of his words at all. Qi Dao suddenly understood that he was playing the piano to a cow. How could a sparrow know the ambition of an eagle? I won't kill you, just leave. Perhaps you can witness the arrival of a new era during your lifetime. Qi Dao shook his head and said no more. After hearing these words, Chaoshan was completely stunned, his face turned gray, and he lost the will to continue practicing Taoism. In other words, he is no different from a useless person now. Brother, let me see if you're hurt. When Qi Dao returned to Yuqing, the little girl immediately began to worry and feel distressed. Qi Dao saw everything with her eyes, and knew that today was really worrying her. After all, Even the headmaster and the elders were digging holes and acting, and she was kept in the dark. It's okay, didn't I say before, you can always trust me, senior brother. Chi Dao said, taking the initiative to hold her in his arms. Soon, Chi Dao looked back again and found that the auras of the 6 supreme elders of the tyrant sect were billowing, triggering visions and a faint killing intent. It was obvious that these murderous intentions were aimed at him. Everyone, is there anything else? This battle has ended, it's time for you to come back. Headmaster Qingshu snorted coldly, immediately calmed down the situation, and forcibly suppressed the killing intent in the hearts of these 6 people. At this point, they had nothing to say, but their faces were horribly dark. I'm sorry for disturbing you today, Headmaster Qingshu. We'll see you later. The old man holding the Bagua roulette didn't say much, and went back with the other elders with a frustrated Chaoshan. Before leaving, Zanming glanced at Chi Dao resentfully, his face livid. Today he came with a lot of force, but not only did he fail to achieve the expected results, but he killed his disciples one after another. Even Saint Child wanted to stop the loss at the end, but was defeated directly. It can be said that the loss was maximized. He couldn't swallow this breath in his heart and vowed to regain his face in the future. Senior brother Dao Ming, there is something wrong with that kid. He is a scourge. We must get rid of him. After the 6 elders of the tyrant sect left far away, Zanming said to the old man holding the Bagua roulette. After a long silence, Dao Ming finally spoke. The murderous intention in his body spread out and he chopped off a mountain. Today's hatred, I will definitely get it back with my own hands tomorrow. 2 more months, as long as there are 2 more months, the great Tao of heaven and earth will suppress it again. When the time comes, all the cultivators who have not devoured their origin will fall to a great level. At that time, I will slaughter everyone in the Qingshu sect. Dao Ming went crazy, with a ferocious expression on his face. It was obvious that he had endured this for a long time. After he finished venting, he responded to what Zanming said. That kid really should be eradicated. He has a completely different aura about him. I have a hunch that if we can't kill him as soon as possible, this kid will definitely grow up. Dao Ming said murderously. These words shocked Zanming and others. They all looked at each other with horror. Senior brother Dao Ming, what do you mean by this? This is the end of the Dharma era. Who can go against heaven? If you don't extract the origins of others to practice, your realm will only get lower day by day. Under the situation of one and the other, with the aloofness of the Qingshu sect people, they will definitely not extract the origins of others to maintain their own cultivation. We will definitely win. Another old man in black robes said in surprise, thinking that it was impossible for anyone to go against the will of heaven. Dao Ming's eyes were dark and he shook his head. It was a horrible feeling I had while staring at him, or maybe it was an illusion. In short, this sun cannot stay for a long time. In 2 more months, the Qingshu sect will die. Dao Ming took a deep breath and said, his heart was not very stable. That's what senior brother said. In 2 months, I don't think that boy will make a big mistake. When the time comes, he can just crush him to death with one hand. Zanming and others agreed and continued on their way back to the sect. After the Ba Tian sect and others left, all the disciples in the Qingshu sect started to revel, and the atmosphere was very high. However, whether it was the headmaster, all the elders, or Chi Dao, they all entered the ancient palace to discuss matters. Nowadays, Chi Dao has a place in this ancient palace, and he can sit on an equal footing with the Supreme Elder. Everyone, what happened today happened very suddenly. I believe everyone knows that we have been targeted, and a catastrophe will befall us soon. With the cruelty and viciousness of those people from the tyrant sect, they will not give up easily. The headmaster sat in the center, his voice was low, and it reached everyone's heart. For a time, all the elders and Chi Dao felt a little heavy. Everyone knew they had no time. Needless to say, the suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth, they are getting weaker day by day. Today the Ba Tian sect is coming, and tomorrow there may be other sects coming. Nowadays, surrounded by wolves, every day can be said to be on tenterhooks. What the headmaster said is absolutely correct. If Saint Child hadn't taken action today, it would have blocked the momentum of their younger generation. I'm afraid a war will break out today. A supreme elder sighed. His name was Qing Kang. Is it possible that we should also embark on the path of extracting the origins of others? But our ancestors have left us instructions, telling us not to use our power to overwhelm others, let alone commit random acts of murder. An inner sect elder frowned. This is also the reason why the entire Qingshu sect would rather seal the mountain than come out of the world to extract the origins of others to maintain their cultivation. Of course, now they can hardly hold on any longer. No, don't forget, we still have a way out. The headmaster's voice was sonorous and he looked at Qi Dao beside him. Qi Dao suddenly understood and stood up to salute the elders. Let me tell you elders, this disciple has already felt something in his heart during the fight just now, and has captured the inspiration for the next great realm. As long as you give me another month, this disciple will definitely be able to open up the third realm. A month's time. Is 1 month really enough? Even if a third realm is opened up, are you confident enough to face someone at the level of an elder? You must know that the strength of a person who reaches the level of an elder is at least as high as the sky, let alone a supreme elder. Next time, if someone comes to your door, it won't be a test and a small fight like today, but a real bloody battle will break out, and the sect will be in danger of being destroyed. Yes, one thing goes another way. They are waiting. We also know that they are waiting, but there is nothing we can do. Time is too short. If we can open it up earlier, there will be enough time. Quote. Qi Dao's words did not reassure the elders. Mainly, the coming of Tyrant sect this time really brought unprecedented pressure. In the age of Dharma ending, if you don't extract the origins of others to maintain your cultivation, it means that your strength will continue to decline and you will become a sweet steamed bun in the eyes of others. However, this kind of thing has Qian Tianhe, and the sin of killing is too serious, and the Taoists of Qingshu sect are not willing to do it. Faced with the concerns and anxieties of the elders, Qi Dao understood them quite well. Nowadays, he is under the same pressure as these elders, and no one is easier than anyone else. In other words, he must develop a new system faster than the elders' decline in realm, and pass down the new system for the disciples and elders to practice. This is their only chance. From the moment the headmaster and all the elders decided to devote all their power to the church, they had already put everything on the line. If it succeeds, it will be the origin of the new way. If it fails, it will be a pile of withered bones. Ahem. Quiet. The headmaster never hesitated, let alone wavered in his inner determination. It is precisely because the headmaster is as stable as the sea god's needle that he and the 5 supreme elders can withstand the pressure. Everyone, I understand your concerns. In such a short period of time, the new system has just started. It is very difficult to catch up with and fight against the old system. But since Qi Dao said it, he is 100% sure. We can only choose to believe him. Of course, if any elder withdraws, I will never stop him. The headmaster said this, and the whole ancient palace became quiet. At this time, Qi Dao knew that he had to come up with something that could stabilize people's hearts. Headmaster, elders, I don't want to talk nonsense. I just want to ask the elders to wait and see. I can confidently tell the headmaster and elders that if a third realm can be opened up, I am confident that I will not be afraid of elder-level figures. Even if the elders fall down and are unable to fight against the enemy, I can still defend the entire Qingshu mountain with my own strength. Qingshu mountain treats its disciples like family members. The disciples should repay their kindness with blood. There will be no lies. Qi Dao's voice was sonorous and powerful, and every word struck the hearts of the headmasters and elders. Everyone was shocked when they heard that Qi Dao was confident that he could protect the entire Qingshu mountain by himself. This is really important to them. Because if they drag on any longer, their level will surely fall and they will no longer be able to compete with their former opponents. At this time, someone must be able to stand up and withstand the pressure. There is no doubt that Qi Dao took the initiative to stand up and show his determination. Qi Dao, are you really sure that you can open up a third realm to fight against elders? An inner sect elder asked in horror. This is also something that other elders are concerned about. Absolutely true. The disciples who opened up the new system have reached the limit of each realm. 1 realm is worth 2 realms of the old system. Qi Dao said confidently. This is his absolute confidence as the founder of the new system. Otherwise, how can we crush the old system, let alone subvert it? Good. I believe in Saint Child. Do you have any doubts? The headmaster made the final decision, and no one had any doubts anymore. Okay, everyone, please go back first and get ready. During the month of Qi Dao's retreat, we must first block the pressure. After all, no one knows when the real enemy will come, we can only race against time. As the leader taught the way, the elders gradually dispersed. This made Qi Dao extremely grateful. The head coach really provided him with too many opportunities. Without the presence of the Seamaster's Dinghaishan needle, he would not have been able to open up a new body refining system without any worries. Thank you, Master. My disciple will definitely live up to expectations. Qi Dao knelt down and worshipped in front of the headmaster, feeling grateful in his heart. You don't need to be under so much pressure, just go into retreat with peace of mind. We old guys are not rotten yet. If the sky falls, we will be there to hold you up. The new body refining system is not only related to the future of our Qingshu sect, but also the future of all living beings in the world. The master teaches the way. No one wants to rot, and no one wants to feed on the origins of others. But this is destined to be a terrible era full of blood and chaos, and now the terrible corner has just begun. Disciple understands. Disciple will go into seclusion now. Qi Dao saluted again. Before leaving, the headmaster also provided him with many scriptures for him to comprehend, hoping to provide him with ideas. This was exactly what Qi Dao needed at the moment. He did not refuse and accepted decisively. After entering Cave Mansion, Qi Dao retreated peacefully. He realized that time was running out and he had to open up a third realm within a month, or even less. Time does not wait. System, start simulation. Ding. The end of the law simulation system is activated and the 548th simulation is being prepared. In the first year, you realize that time is tight, and you focus on understanding the new body refining system. In the second year, you collected all the scriptures and began to try to imprint the Dharma into root bone and flesh. In the third year, you are more than half successful, but you also realize that something is wrong. You have been too hasty and you have gone too far. Quote. In the 10th year, you opened up the so-called third realm, but it exploded on the day you succeeded. The 548th final simulation has ended, and the system is automatically restarting. Summary of this simulation. You are too hasty and haste makes waste. Evaluation. Obsessed. The moment he died, Qi Dao woke up and was sweating profusely. He suddenly realized that he was on the wrong track. If it weren't for the simulation system that allowed unlimited trial and error, he would have been completely screwed. Something's wrong. I'm resorting to external methods, which is contrary to my own physical way. I should seek the true way of flesh and blood internally. How can I carve the external method into root bone and flesh and blood? Qi Dao reflected and finally found the problem. System, start the next simulation immediately. In the first year, you learned the lessons from the last time. Although you studied the scriptures, you no longer learned from foreign methods. Quote. In the 5th year, you sit here for 4 years without any improvement in strength. Quote. In the 10th year, the suppression of the age of ending law has reached its maximum. No cultivator can resist the erosion of the great Tao. They have all become mortals. Only you are still thinking hard about the method of transformation. Quote. In the 20th year, you finally achieved something, stimulated the vitality of the flesh and blood, and began to imprint your own unique method on the root bone. Quote. In the 50th year, you have imprinted the method of flesh and blood on root bone, but the moment you succeeded, you still failed. Before you die, you feel that your dharma is like duckweed in the water, with no foundation. Quote. The 549th simulation is over and the system is automatically restarting. Summary of this simulation. There is no problem with the idea, but it has not been put into practice correctly. Summary. Your Dharma image is like a rootless tree. Quote. Qi Dao fell into deep thought. Where did he fail to take care of it and failed again? It was clear that this time the method of imprinting flesh and blood was successful, but it still failed. Why do I feel like I'm rootless? Qi Dao was puzzled. What is the root of law? Does the Dharma really have a so-called root? Qi Dao kept asking himself, and fell into confusion again. Then, he entered the simulation again and explored again. The 550th simulation is over. The 600th simulation is over. The 700th simulation is over. Quote. 7 days have passed in the outside world, and Qi Dao has continued to die in the simulated world, and the number of simulations has directly reached 1,000 times. The repeated deaths and confusion of thinking made Qi Dao almost numb, and the pain was so painful that he wanted to give up. Why? What is the root of all laws? I can't find it. Qi Dao yelled, his eyes were red, and he looked almost crazy. Then, he collapsed and lay in the simulated world for 10 years. Finally, one day, the inspiration for hitting him in the sky resurfaced, causing him to open his eyes instantly. I regard flesh and blood as the true way, but I seek the Dharma first. It would be too hasty, and I want to become fat in one bite. But if there is no Tao, where can the Dharma come from? As the saying goes, all Dharmas are born in the same way. Isn't the Tao the root of all Dharmas? In other words, my physical body is the root and the only one. I didn't realize this before. Qi Dao sat up suddenly and collected countless scriptures again. However, this time he did not meditate on these scriptures, but revived them and inspired all foreign methods. First there is Tao, then there is law. The third great realm should not be related to the Dharma, but should be about casting the Tao and leaving the foundation of all Dharma. This is the real way to go. Qi Dao understood and sat down cross-legged. Then, the 1005th simulation began. In the first 10 years, you did nothing and passed by in decadence. In the 11th year, you have a clear understanding in your heart and begin to forge the Tao of the physical body. Use the physical body as the root of all Dharma, and cultivate the great Tao foundation that is most suitable for the birth of all Dharma. Quote. In the 20th year, you have been enlightened for another 10 years, ignited the external method with the original fire, used the physical body as the furnace, and the external method as the fire, and began to forge the only way of your own. Quote. In the 50th year, the fire of foreign law burned raging and brought you to the brink of death, but you gritted your teeth and persevered with your tenacious will to survive, because you felt that your great Tao was turning into reality, and your flesh and blood began to truly become the Tao. Quote. In the first 100 years, you successfully transformed the flesh and blood of an arm into the true embodiment of the great Tao. For the first time, you felt at ease. Quote. In the 150th year, with the previous experience, your second arm has also transformed into a true manifestation of the great Tao. Quote. In the 500 years, all your limbs have completed the process of transforming into the real great Tao, leaving only your body and head. Quote. In the first 1,000 years, you were robbed for the first time. Because the transformation process of the head was extremely difficult, the great Tao of heaven and earth sensed that there was a catastrophe of death, and it wanted to extinguish the true way of your body. Quote. In the 1,500th year, you successfully resisted death and raised your middle finger to the sky and the earth. Quote. In the second 1,000 years, your whole body has successfully completed the transformation of the true great Tao. Every inch of flesh and blood is the embodiment of the only great Tao, and it has begun to feed back your root bone. Quote. In the third 1,000 years, you have transformed. The real great Tao of flesh and blood has remained on the root bone. Every bone you have has become a Tao bone. Quote. In the fourth 1,000 years, the second death disaster has come, and it has made up for the last shortcomings in your body, allowing you to completely consolidate your own true great Tao. In the 4,001st year, you successfully opened up the third realm of the new system, which you named the realm of casting. However, you found that except for yourself, the founder, subsequent practitioners could not reach this point. Quote. In the 4,500th year, you have thought hard for a long time and decided to open up an attainable realm on top of the third great realm. Quote. In the 4,600th year, with the foundation of Taoism, your physical method has roots and is no longer a rootless duckweed. Quote. In the 5,000 years, your Tao gave birth to Dharma, which sprung up like bamboo shoots after a rain, blossoming and bearing fruit among the 5 internal organs. You realized that it was flesh and blood and the 5 elements. Quote. In the 6,000 years, after another 1,000 years of precipitation, the method of your physical body has completely taken root, and is extremely gorgeous. You have begun to call the 5 internal organs the palace of life to seek the method. Quote. In the 7,000 years, the fourth great realm was opened. You named it the Palace of Life, which is the origin of all laws. But at the same time, you also encountered the first great catastrophe of creating laws. Quote. In the 8,000 years, you revived from the ruins of the Dharma ending age, and successfully survived the catastrophe of death. Congratulations to the host for the success of this simulation. All resources consumed by the simulation have been distributed through rewards. Summary of this simulation. External law is the fire, and the body is the furnace. You have successfully created the way of the body, and on this basis, the law of the five elements life palace has been successfully born. Summary. Tao and Dharma are born, and the new system is great accomplishment. In an instant, Chi Tao woke up, but his heart was not as excited as before. Spending 8,000 years in the simulated world has made his heart as hard as a rock, and his eyes have already been filled with vicissitudes of life. Fortunately, his efforts were not in vain. In 8,000 years, not only the third great realm was opened up, but the fourth great realm was also opened up. The simulated world has undergone tremendous changes, and only 20 days have passed since the outside world. Now, his new system has four major realms, namely the blood refining realm, the soul nurturing realm, the casting realm, and the life palace realm. Zhu Dao, Ming Palace. Chi Dao murmured and stood up. Although only 20 days had passed in reality, he was full of vicissitudes of life and had a sense of twilight in him. After a long time, Chi Dao cut off the huge and useless thoughts in his mind. Otherwise, he would find that he had really become too old, and the impact of simulating the Dharma ending world would be great. Soon, Chi Dao fully recovered and began practicing against the clock. This time, he is casting the Tao in reality, and will open up the life palace on the basis of casting the Tao, and find the method of the five elements. Fortunately, the system's rewards have prepared everything he needs, which is exactly the same as the massive amount of heavenly materials and earthly treasures consumed during the simulation, which is completely enough for him to practice. Otherwise, it would be useless for him to empty out the entire Qingshu mountain. The way to make flesh and blood. My body is immortal and my Tao is immortal. Even if the world outside collapses, I will still be able to exist in this world forever. Chi Dao murmured to himself. As soon as he said this, rolling thunder suddenly sounded from deep in the sky above Qingshu Mountain, deafening and filled with a depressing atmosphere. At this moment, both the Dharma protector and the five supreme elders felt something in their hearts and raised their heads suddenly. That's the thunder brewing. This is the only way for the new system to be born. Chi Dao, did he really succeed? Yu Xuanzi said in shock and fear. Needless to say, the power of the tribulation thunder was the most terrifying great Tao tribulation prepared by the great Tao in order to kill the founder. It came only to kill people. At this moment, everyone looked solemn. Can we stop Chi Dao from the disaster? With his current level of cultivation, I'm afraid he won't be able to survive it. The Supreme Elder Qing Kang said sadly. The headmaster immediately shook his head with a serious expression. This kind of calamity thunder must not be interfered by outsiders, otherwise it will only become more terrifying and involve our entire Qingshu sect. The cause and effect of this is really too great, we can't bear it. Now, we can only see Chi Dao's own creation. If he can successfully withstand the thunderstorm, it means that this vast world cannot stop the birth of the new system and will no longer be able to restrict it. Otherwise, myriad tribulations will no longer exist. The headmaster said, and the five supreme elders protecting the law instantly understood. Afterwards, they each retreated a distance, making way for Chi Dao transcending tribulation. At the same time, Headmaster Qingshu also asked the elder to temporarily take the disciples to hide in the formation to avoid disaster, for fear of involving them. What's going on? Did the enemy come so soon? No, there's constant thunder in the sky. Why do I feel like someone is going to transcending tribulation? However, looking at the current era of law ending, whoever can succeed in transcending tribulation under such circumstances is not seeking death. Quote. The disciples kept guessing and were all quite shocked. At the same time, the headmaster and the elders were already ready and used all kinds of means to protect the entire Qingshu mountain. One is to protect Qingshu mountain from being destroyed by thunder, but it is to prevent someone from doing bad things at this juncture. Boom! Not long after, the first tribulation thunder appeared, a purple lightning with a destructive aura. Although this purple thunder and lightning was not big, it was like a sea of stars pouring down after falling. The disciples of the Qingshu sect were all speechless and shocked beyond measure. Have they ever seen such a scene before? Not to mention them, even the headmaster and all the elders were worried at this time and were shocked by such a big scene. Compared with such calamity thunder, the calamity they overcame was simply insignificant and not enough to watch. This is the Great Tao Tribulation. It is two completely different powers from the ordinary thunder tribulation. The Great Tao Tribulation is a direct manifestation of the old system, which is to obliterate the newly emerged system. In other words, this is a battle between the old and new systems, a catastrophe at the level of Taoism. Only the new system can fight it. The headmaster quickly saw the trick, and then said in shock. He was convinced in his heart that if old guys like him intervened, they would be assimilated immediately and repay the favor. This is the terrible thing about the Great Tao Tribulation. Boom! The cave mansion where Qi Dao retreated was directly submerged by the purple Great Tao Tribulation thunder, and strange phenomena filled the sky. Bring it on. If God doesn't grant it, why don't you let me find another way? I will use this new system to defeat your old system. Qi Dao opened his eyes and held up a curtain of light with his hands. The next moment, the power of the Great Tao of the newly cultivated body refining system also emerged, but it bloomed from every inch of his flesh and blood. In just a moment, Qi Dao felt like he had fallen into eternity. Only he knows that the old and new systems are fighting in places invisible to the naked eye, intertwined and submerged. Puff! Not long after, Qi Dao's body was penetrated by the Great Tao Tribulation, and several fist-sized blood holes appeared. Qi Dao was very excited and even laughed. That's it. If I can block you once in the simulated world, I can block you a second time. Every Great Tao calamity of yours will be the nourishment for my new system and strengthen me. I will bathe in the Great Tao of the old system, and step on the old system to forge my own path. Qi Dao looks up to the sky and roars, fearless of the Great Tao of heaven and earth. At this moment, the Great Tao of heaven and earth seemed to be angry. The sky shook, and it actually dropped a Great Tao guillotine to cut off Qi Dao's flesh and blood. What is this? Outside, the Dharma Protector and others were shocked and horrified. Have you ever seen such a thing as the Great Tao? They only felt that the sharp edge hanging from it made them feel small, as if they would transform into Taoism at any time. Zheng! The Great Tao guillotine fell, silently penetrating Qi Dao's body, making a dull sound, as if it was blocked by something. What about the Great Tao guillotine? My body is the Tao, and my words and deeds are the Dharma. I don't represent Great Tao, I am the real Great Tao. Qi Dao roared, and the power of the new system continued to bloom in his flesh and blood, fighting against the terrifying Great Tao guillotine. Boom! Another dull sound sounded. This time it was the Great Tao guillotine that was stuck in his body, and cracks appeared. This is the representative of the Great Tao of heaven and earth, and can be regarded as the will of the Great Tao of heaven and earth. As a result, now in front of Qi Dao's flesh and blood, it began to shatter. Cast the way. Qi Dao used the purple thunder light surrounding him as fire, used his body as a furnace, and then used the Great Tao guillotine as a guide to create the body Great Tao. Boom! At this moment, the Great Tao's calamity became even more terrifying. There were even 5-color calamity thunder falling down, submerging Qi Dao in it. The top of Qingshu Mountain could no longer hold on at this moment and exploded completely. This made the headmaster and the elders turn pale. How could it be so terrifying? Is this really an intention to break the path of the new system? Qi Dao is really too bold. This time he directly used the entire Great Tao disaster as fire to forge the way of his own body. In just a moment, he was burned through, and the terrible arcs of electricity rushed through his flesh and bones, giving him a fatal blow. Ah! Soon, Qi Dao screamed, this kind of Great Tao disaster was really terrible. Now, his flesh and blood is the Tao, representing the new system. The catastrophe of the Great Tao outside represents the old system, whose achievements a long time ago were terrifying, and now it is about to strangle the new system in the cradle. It is also true that Qi Dao experienced everything extremely terrible. His flesh and blood burned through and then evaporated. His internal organs became blackened and lifeless. In the end, every inch of his bones turned into burning sticks, and the terrible disaster of the great Tao continued to spread, threatening to strangle him. Refining blood and nourishing souls. Life is coming back. Qi Dao's method of implementing the new system, as a pioneer, he can do it to the extreme. Buzz. In just an instant, Qi Dao's flesh and blood regenerated, and he was enveloped in rich blood and vitality, turning into a cauldron again. Next, he is still using this to train his flesh and blood. The great Tao guillotine stuck in his flesh and blood began to further disintegrate due to such terrible training, and the great Tao essence in it was absorbed by Qi Dao and turned into nutrients. Qi Dao is not joking, he is really using the old system as nourishment to pave the way for his new system. Of course, this process is extremely painful. The great Tao's guillotine was extremely sharp, and his body exploded with a slight shock. Even millions of kilograms of flesh and blood couldn't stop it. Fortunately, Qi Dao's flesh and blood has been refined to the limit, and its vitality is very strong, and it can always condense again after being exploded. Repeatedly and repeatedly, Qi Dao experienced an extremely devilish 5 days and 5 nights, and his whole body was on the verge of death. This, Qi Dao can't hold on anymore, right? Why do I feel that this time his vitality is no longer and has begun to dry up? A supreme elder said after careful sensing, with a look of unbearable expression. In their view, the entire cave mansion no longer existed. Qi Dao was being trained in the furnace of his own body and was extremely miserable. Several times they tried to help, but were stopped by the headmaster. If this is true, it will be the death of the new system. There is nothing to say. But it is undeniable that Qi Dao is amazingly talented, and his talent has surpassed ancient and modern times, and is comparable to the founders of the old system. The headmaster said. He also held out hope and did not want to see Qi Dao take such a risk and train himself to death. However, as time went by, after 2 days, that area became silent and lifeless. Even the rolling thunder deep in the sky has dissipated and will no longer come. Failed. Yu Zan's face turned pale and he couldn't believe it. After that, he transformed into a ray of divine light and rushed into the ruins, only to find a burned-through skeleton. Even if he was injected with vitality, he could not revive him. Well, it's destiny. The age of Dharma ending is really going to force all the ascetics to go to a dead end. This time, the headmaster showed a look of extreme despair. He also carefully examined Qi Dao's withered skeleton and found that there was no way to save it. For a moment, the hearts of all the elders were heavy, and the hopes that had just been ignited were extinguished again. Is it really so difficult for the new body refining system to be born? It turns out that this Dharma ending era can really destroy everything and destroy everything. Some elders laughed crazily, unable to accept this result. This time they put all their efforts into teaching, but they only got such a result, which would make everyone lose their balance. The consequence of this is that the realm plummets and cannot be stopped at all. That day, the entire Qingshu sect was wailing. Some disciples discovered that several elders had lost all their realms and turned into mortals. The great Tao is so cruel, how ruthless is the Mofa. Brother Headmaster, I have no regrets. Even if it happens again, I will support it. Yu Xuanzi clenched his fists and was filled with grief. Qi Dao is not only a disciple of Qingshu sect, but also his disciple whom he has personally taught for more than 10 years. He is as close as father and son. Such a result made him much sadder than anyone else. Well, with a long sigh, the headmaster's eyes were dark. Bury him. Qi Dao is a pioneer who dares to try, and is definitely not weaker than the pioneers of the old system. We must let future generations know that after the end of the Dharma era, there was one person who fought against the entire old system and almost succeeded. The master teaches the way. Yu Xuanzi was speechless and sad. After bringing Qi Dao's blackened bones to the back mountain, he dug a small pit with his own hands. At this time, he couldn't calm down. What will happen if Yu Qing finds out? What would the expressions of all the disciples of Qingshu sect be like if they knew this? Yu Xuanzi stood in front of the small pit, and a day passed before he buried Qi Dao. How ruthless the great Tao is, how cruel the Dharma is. A tragic song ends with a handful of loess. Yu Xuanzi silently piled up the pictures and left. But what no one knows is that there are bits of rich vitality hidden on the charred bones, which are spreading rapidly like a spark igniting a prairie fire. Another day passed, and the small mound turned out to be overgrown with weeds and was as tall as a person. Brother, Yu Qing was the first one among the disciples to know the news, and she burst into tears. When she came to the small mound her father had mentioned, her sadness was temporarily obscured by the lush weeds in front of her. Yu Qing was stunned for a moment. Could such tall grass grow on the grave in one day after the burial? Senior brother, you will definitely not die, right? I know, you must be lying to me, please say something. Or you can just give me a dream. After all, the sadness came over, and Yu Qing lay down on the small mound of soil. Not long after, she suddenly had a hallucination, and there was a voice coming from under the small mound. At first, the voice was very ethereal and difficult to capture. Yu Qing thought that she missed it too much, which caused her to have an illusion. Until later, the sound became louder and intermittent. Exhaustion. Rebirth. Brother. Senior brother is not dead. Yu Qing heard a familiar voice, and while suffering, she began to push away the mound of soil. At this time, Qi Dao's voice became louder and louder, even shaking the sky and resounding throughout Qingshu Mountain. The sky cannot destroy it, the earth cannot bury it. I am reborn from depletion and resurrected from the old path. I got through it. Qi Dao makes the sound of great Dao, and everyone in Qingshu Mountain can hear it clearly. The next moment, vast vitality emerged, and Qi Dao's withered bones regenerated flesh and blood. He succeeded. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.